Are we good? All right, IT, let's call this meeting to order. We are returning from recess. This is meeting number 3 of our budget workshop. Good evening, everybody. Today is July 11th, 2024, and the time is now 6:01 p.m. Let's begin with the roll call, followed by agenda approval, but let's begin with roll call first.
Mayor Penserga,
Here.
Vice Mayor Kelly.
Here.
Commissioner Cruz.
Here.
Commissioner Hay.
Here.
Commissioner Turkin.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's go over the agenda to make sure if there's any changes or updates.
Been on vacation?
We didn't do it yet last time,
Okay.
but
That's fine.
okay. So let's go over the agenda to make sure we're all on the same page about orders and priorities to be covered today. Let's go around the dais. If there's any requests, let's begin with Commissioner Cruz. So we do have an updated printed agenda, and I should make sure that's
Yeah.
clear for the public as well.
Just for the sake of time, I don't want to add more things to the agenda, but I do remember during our first budget hearing, we talked about the legal budget and seeing the full picture of all the attorney fees and all that to include risk management. So I just wanted to maybe have that emailed to us, instead of presenting it, so we can save time. And then we can work until September if there's any amendments or anything.
Okay. All right.
Oh, okay.
So this is legal and risk budget. Okay. Any other requests? Let's go to Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Before everyone was here, I was assisting with technical and finance, and I would like to, because of technology's sake, I would like to visit the millage rate discussion early. So, but just as like the under budget overview, if we could just revisit just the millage rate so that we can discuss that for technology reasons, and then we can move on to the other.
All right. I'm
options.
certainly comfortable with that. I don't know how my colleagues feel. She's requesting that we discuss the millage rate at the onset
Right.
of all the other presentations for today. Now, it still eventually has to come back because there is a proposed resolution towards the end of the agenda. Council, did you want to add something?
Well, we could potentially move the resolution up to consider that resolution with the discussion of the millage rate.
Well, but then it
Oh, okay.
I-
Never mind. You were doing public audience before.
Yeah,
so-
yeah.
Okay, disregard.
All right, let's go to my left now. Commissioner Hay, if you have any requests in terms of today's agenda.
None.
Okay, Commissioner Turkin?
The millage rate, so we're moving it, what are we doing exactly?
We're just gonna have a discussion, we're gonna have that slide discussion at the beginning because we've set the slide. And so before they do other presentations,
Oh,
they
okay,
want
got
to
it,
do
got it,
that
got it. It's just a
presentation
technical
first.
error. Okay,
Just a technical.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Just to have
Yeah.
that discussion first.
yeah,
All right,
that's fine.
Deputy City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. The interim finance director sent out some information about the fund balance investment portfolio. Is that something still you want to go over, or was that sufficient?
I actually wanted to hear that as well.
Okay, I just want to
But
make sure.
could you give us an estimate of, well, you know what, I'm comfortable, and you wanted to hear that as
I
well.
wanted to review it. I got the email and I appreciate that. But
Perfect.
I do kind of want to see the
Okay.
presentation if you're
And
okay with
so,
that, Mayor.
on that topic, Andrew, let me turn to my colleagues. Are you guys comfortable having that, let's say, after the millage discussion? Okay, so we'll do the millage discussion, we'll do the investment portfolio, then we'll proceed to the utility fund. Good? Now, was there anything else from yesterday? I know we made a list, just to make sure that nothing's forgotten.
CIP.
CIP's here.
You have 3 CIP. You got 302, 303, and utility, those 3.
Right.
So
Yes, it's already here. Anything not here that we may have forgotten, just want to make sure we're all good.
the only thing you guys already mentioned at Mayor was the fund balance discussion.
The fund balance discussion.
And the CDBG, we talked about that because of the,
Yep,
so, but that's here, it's listed. I
yes.
just
We'll keep the
clarity.
SHIP CDBG in the same place on the agenda. If there's
Perfect.
no objections from my colleagues.
No.
In terms of the fund balance, could we do that right after?
Yeah,
Or is it already on there?
it's under B. One is fund balance investment portfolio. Is that what you're talking about?
No, this is.
Oh, okay.
I
This
was,
is under capital.
okay. All right, it's fine with me. All right, let's proceed. Thank you so much, everybody. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
I heard a motion from Commissioner Cruz, second from Vice Mayor. Thank you. All those in favor of the motion to amend, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Okay, let's proceed right in by discussing the millage rate. City Manager, do you want to kick it off, or should we begin with Tony?
No, Mayor, I'll start. The millage rate that we've went from was 7.85. We took some of the information that we got from the dais on the first meeting, and we looked at a couple of different contingencies. And Tony, I don't have the exact numbers for the. I believe it was Commissioner Hay that wanted to know what 7.8 would look like. So we did do. Oh, okay, perfect. So I want to say it's right around 400,000 is what the additional need would be to the general fund.
To be clear, when you say 400,000 is the additional need, that means you've depleted all the amount that you would have set aside for the fund balance, and then
That's in
400,000 on
addition.
top
That's
of
in
that?
no. That's in addition to. So it was 750,000. So in addition to, it'd probably come out to around 1.1 million. Then is what the need would be to balance the budget. But I do want a commission to keep in mind this is a draft. These are preliminary numbers. We still don't know what our state shared revenues are going to be. They can be up or down. We still have 150,000 that I looked at as a Scribner error that was done, that we came in at 850,000 every single year. And I know Commissioner Cruz, I spoke to you about this, and we're going to move that. So that's another 150,000 there. And there's some other things that we want to look at as far as getting the commission a balanced budget, and not only getting the commission a balanced budget, but also possibly putting more money back to fund balance throughout the year.
Could we just scroll down so I can see the entirety of the?
Okay.
Within the view.
Yeah, it looks like it's 476,342, Mayor. And you can see Tony has if the commission doesn't feel comfortable with the 7.8, he's went 7.82, 7.84 also.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, I'm in favor with Commissioner Woodrow's Commissioner Hayes' proposal of 7.8, especially City Manager, if you're telling me that we can find money not just to offset that deficit, but also to put back in fund balance. And I would imagine we could always make changes closer to September, or even a budget amendment if we did adopt this rate. You know, we heard yesterday, about children and families with water. We heard all sorts of stuff as far as the utilities increase, the fire tax increase that could potentially happen. And so, I want to remind my colleagues that there was a utility rate increase last year too. And I said, if we do this, we need to be mindful for the next budget year because we did not drop the millage rate last year. As we know, property values increased tremendously, which allows the city to operate with more revenue. However, the taxpayers do not see that break, even if you have that millage rate drop a little bit, because the property value increases, we know that they're going to pay a larger dollar amount of taxes, right? And so my initiative is to try to reduce that input as much as possible year over year over year. And, I trust the city manager, I trust the finance department to get us to where we need to be. And more importantly, at least show good faith to our constituencies that, we're doing what we can, to mitigate. The other question I had for finance is I know, and maybe I'm missing it, but typically we would look at the average home value and what the average property taxes would be and what that impact is on the home. Oh, there it is. There, perfect. There he goes. Tony's right on it, man.
Magic. He's gonna plug in the new number.
Gosh. Is that $17? Is that what it is?
7.8.
Yeah, they're still paying more. right? Even with lower millage rates, still paying more.
Yeah, that's correct,
Yeah.
Commissioner, unless you go back to the rollback rate, which is 7.4.
Right.
And then-
Right, and again, I don't think we can do that, you know, but I think it's just important to look at this. You know, although we dropped the millage rate, you know, how big of a difference, you know, is that making? You know, hopefully, soon, you know, with all the economic development we see in the city, you know, we'll be able to get that closer to our neighboring cities, but, I think we have to keep hacking away at it, you know? So.
All
that's
right,
where I'm at.
thank you,
Thanks.
Commissioner. Anything else from my colleagues on this? Commissioner Cruz?
No, go ahead. You can go first. Mhm.
I'm definitely in favor of lowering the ad valorem taxes for the city. I also want to be mindful of making sure that we maintain a equitable and fair level of service and making sure that we continue to take care of our employees. We know we're going to have pay increase coming up. We have some changes that were made within the last month that we should be mindful about. So, yes, also, just a quick question. Can we go back to the other slide real quick? With the tax calculation, so looking at the homestead exemption, it's about maybe $15,000 less, like a 3% less. I'm looking at the line 13, homestead residential property assessed value. So if a home's was $500,000 last year, now it's $515,000, we would have that $50,000 homestead exemption. So it would still be, okay. I mean, I think it is a reasonable break, and it's definitely a step in the right direction. Either way, I mean, even if we kept the millage the same, there would be an increase, and this would be, I would say, the biggest tax cut that any administration has ever done. I would probably think in the history of at least in the last more than 10, 20 years. So that would definitely be, heading in the right direction.
I can't remember taxes being cut, but a few times. I've been in the city for 20 years.
Yeah.
So. Yes, that's correct.
The last one that happened was, I think, in 2019, and it was 0.01 of a
You
mil.
went from 7.9 to 7.89. You're correct, Commissioner. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Anything else?
No, I'll just support this change. I think that even though, the residents they're not seeing a reduction per se, just like Commissioner Turkin, you mentioned, because of property appraisal, but we're getting closer to, maybe next year, it'll be more of a break even as opposed to every year seeing a tax increase. But, we do have to be mindful of everything costing more too. And so we also, have to make sure that we're able to balance the budget and city manager. So we're obviously, hopeful that everything will work out the way that it always has, or at least has in the last couple of years, and then we can move forward. So thank you.
All right, thank you. I will support the recommendation as well. Gradual decline in millage rate is a responsible step forward. It's not the step I would have liked to have seen because it's just not translating, but I understand why it's not yet translating to the homeowners, but in time, I hope it will. But we can't control property valuations, right? So double-edged sword. With that, I'll leave my comments there. Any last call from my colleagues? Okay, let's move on to the next item then. Next on the agenda is the utility fund, we said the investment portfolio. And Tony, I'll turn that to you.
Good evening, everyone. Anthony Davidson, Interim Finance Director. So I shared this PowerPoint with you guys last night, and I hope everyone had a chance to look at it. As you can see, this is sent from our investment advisor, Deep Blue Investment Advisors. I'm going to skip to the first page, which is why we're here, why we're talking about it. So as of May 31st, and by the way, we just got the June update today, and it pretty much slightly ahead of $165 million, but the APR was like 4.62%, so similar neighborhood. But in any event, as you can see, the total investable balance is $164 million. The average rate of return is at 5%. The average weighted average with regards to the days to maturity is 74. The Bank of America is our primary business account where we do most of the city's business, day-to-day movement of cash. As you can see, it's at $25 million. The ARPA dollars were segregated in its own account, and you see it's at $6.6 million. And then the rest of it is pretty much a mix of a different type of investment. The Florida Fit, which is a pooled cash investable pool of dollars with other cities at $53.3 million. Then we do have some investment, $4 million in Israel bonds. And as you can see, the maturity is beyond a 2-year period. So we can't actually do anything with those investments if we wanted to liquidate them at the moment. 1 million under a year and 2 million and 3 million beyond a 2-year period. And then the biggest portion is with the said investment advisement firm. They're managing almost $65 million. When you go over to the next page, one second, it sort of shows you the portfolio allocation, and most of the dollars, as you can see, is in government securities, very conservative. When you go to the next slide, this slide rather, it actually shows you the specific cost allocation of the $164 million. As you can see, the 64, which is tied up with Deep Blue, is in government securities. Florida Prime has $56 million, and again, those Israeli bonds. And that's pretty much the main meat of this presentation from Deep Blue Investment Advisors. So I'll field any question that you guys have that I cannot try to answer because it's not our presentation.
Thank you, Tony. In general, could you explain or discuss what is the process by which, is there a meeting? Is there any update from the manager? I'm just wondering, how are decisions being made, if any, and what, I just don't know how that works.
Okay, so to my knowledge right now, since I've been, this year I can speak to, prior to the reorg that we had, we've met with Deep Blue, I think at least twice. And pretty much they're the one that's in charge of making the investment decisions. If there's the most recent thing that I did personally, there was a $10 million maturity of some treasury bonds. About a week and a half ago, I got an email from them saying, hey, there's an investment that's maturing. We are recommended that you go into another 6-month maturity through December with the same said $10 million, and you could earn 5% on the portfolio. Do you want us to go ahead and move forward with investment? And I told him, yes, go ahead. It was earning 5%. It was $10 million. I said, go ahead. But that's probably the first since I've been here that I've been put in a position where I actually made the investment decision. But we do get monthly communication from them, the same sort of report that you're seeing. We do get that on a monthly basis. We do occasionally, we've had at least 2 meetings this year when the former finance director was here with this investment advisory company, but they're the one that primarily makes the decision. If we have to liquidate to cover immediate operating expenses, we do also do the same thing. But in general, for this major portfolio you see in front of you, it's the investment advisors are the one making the calls.
Okay, so do they bring forward those recommendations or any changes to you
Yes,
consistently?
they do. Yes, they do. They
Okay.
do it.
It's just for the pension board, it comes to us, right? They make recommendations to the board and they come back, and I just never knew how that worked for this.
As far as this particular entity, I don't know if they get involved with their pension board, but I do know they communicate with the finance department.
Okay. All right, anything from my colleagues on this item? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Can I get the context and the history of the Israel bond?
I'm pretty sure that was a Dias decision, wasn't it, Tony?
It was the former mayor,
But
correct me if I'm wrong?
we can actually find those meeting minutes, and email them to the board if you guys would like.
Yeah, it
To
was
get the exact date and time.
Yeah.
So, I believe that was a Dias decision. I think that the commission does have the authority to, invest those funds, correct, Tony? Or is, it's a policy set by them?
There's definitely guidance as far as what we can invest these dollars in, but with regards to the Israel bond, that was a recommendation from the Dias.
It was a recommendation?
Yep.
Okay. Do we, now I know with bonds, they have a maturity date, and I'm seeing the previous slide had 3 years. Have those bonds already matured?
Not to my knowledge, but we can look
2020,
into.
okay, I see the date here, 2025 and 2026.
Yeah.
To answer your question, Mayor, we definitely need to do more due diligence into what goes as far as the investments that we have sitting in front of us, and that would, obviously, maybe we can get Blue Horizon to come give a presentation to the commission as well, and any policies and procedures that go with that, because that's obviously a large sum of money at $164 million.
Right. Thank you for that, City Manager. I just didn't know what the process was, because I know it's not something that regularly comes before me or the board, and it's very different from the pension environment that both the city manager and I sit on. 4 or 5%, 5.3% average isn't bad. It's fairly decent.
Yes.
But I was curious if there were recommendations to improve that and what the process would be. But if they haven't already made recommendations, I guess maybe there isn't. But that's why I was asking for that purpose.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
We are certainly welcome to recommendations. I would go on record to tell you I've made recommendations myself in the past that there are other vehicles that they can look into, and we just haven't gotten there as yet. So we do intend to look at this as one of the directives that we have gotten to see if whether or not we can maximize these dollars further.
Who would be against that? If we can maximize dollars, why would we not?
Agreed.
Okay, please do, City Manager, Finance, bring it forward if there's no objections from my colleagues. Okay, all right, so that was just it for me. I just wanted to know how that works and what we can do better. Let's go, anyone else? We're good? Okay, we're gonna move on to the next item, which is C, Utility Fund Capital Improvements.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Vice Mayor, City Manager, and everybody in the audience. I'm Poonam Kalkat, Director of Utilities. I'm going to talk about CIP. I actually have my Assistant Director of Engineering, Keith Weber, here too. He is in charge of CIP, so I just wanted to make sure that you knew him and introduced him. If you can come up, Keith. And we'll just team tag as needed. They have to still pull it up.
I think they
This
have
is
to put it
Keith
up
Weber.
first.
He's our Assistant Director of Engineering. He's in charge of CIP. He's been with us almost a year, a little less than a year.
10 months today.
And I'm very proud of everything that he and his team, engineering and project management team, is doing, inspectors and locators, to make sure that our CIP is moving forward a little faster than we've been able to in the past, and that some of that was because of COVID and because of supply chain and because of construction costs. But now we are getting past that stage, so we're really moving forward with some of this. Right? So here is a broad sort of summary of where our CIP for utilities is. With the total CIP is around 65 million, but I just want to point out that this is multiple years. It's not just for the next year. The next year is around 39, I think. That's what I recall, around that amount. And the way we divide up our CIP is that we have broad categories. We have water supply and treatment projects. We have what we call neighborhood synergistic projects, and that means that we are trying to do water, wastewater, stormwater, and streetscaping projects in all together. The next category is wastewater collection systems, then it's stormwater and drainage, distribution, reclaimed water distribution, and studies and master planning efforts. So you see how the dollars are divided up. The water supply and treatment projects have the most right now. It'll probably increase as you're aware, and we'll talk through that a little bit, that we are doing a study for looking at what treatment options should we be looking at, what alternatives for treatment at both plants should we be looking at for the future with some of the emerging contaminants that we know or EPA is proposing. So based on that, so that cost will probably go up. And once we know that cost, we'll be able to figure out we'll come back with a plan of how do we want to fund this? How do we want to, take a bond, a utility bond, and how do we go about it? So we'll come back probably either next year, in the next year and a half, to the commission and ask for your guidance on that. If you want to take over.
Sure. So to start, we'll go through the neighborhood projects. As Poonam mentioned, these are synergistic projects that usually combine water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure so that we can kind of get the best bang for the buck. You get a contractor in there to do all the projects at one time for all the utilities. You get a better price. You can do paving, make the whole neighborhood better. So currently, we have Lakeside Gardens, which we're in the process of finishing up. The project will be complete around the end of September. Right now, we're just doing some restoration and paving. The whole project was about $4 million once we add in the stormwater, which we've seen significant increases with how the stormwater system is working already with the big storms that we've had. Basically, there was no flooding there during these last storms that we've had. Right now, the budget for next year is $1.2 million. That's just the rest of restoration costs, finishing up the invoices for the project from this year, but will be complete by end of September. We have the Sea Meadows project, which is at the top of our priority list. Right now, we're looking to do the south side of Sea Meadows, south of Congress, and we'll go back to the north side in a few years. Right now, we're seeing that most of the issues are on the south side with the sewer laterals on that side. The north side has issues as well, but they don't come nearly as often. We're expecting that project for construction to be about $7 million to $7.5 million with about a design cost of about $500,000. That's going into design this year, and we're looking to do construction the following year. We have the Central Seacoast project, which this is also the Southeast First project that, in conjunction with Public Works, about $2 million of this is towards stormwater, $2.6 million is towards stormwater, and another $2 million is towards the sewer rehab and manhole rehab for that project as well.
And just would like to point out that the first project, Lakeside Gardens, we did get a Florida Commerce grant, and it's an $850,000 grant. So we'll just point out some of the grant money to you as we go along.
Okay, so these are also neighborhood projects, Coquina Cove. I know this has been on the CIP for a long time, but it's finally moving forward. We're finalizing the easement documents for our new 36-inch outfall out there. We're finishing that up. It'll be almost done. It's going to be done soon. We're expecting design for this project to finally be done the end of this year and go into construction next year and have completion in hopefully 2026. This also has grants for the stormwater improvements. They're not towards the sewer or the water, but for the stormwater, we are expecting to get grants for about $2 million. We have the Heart of Boynton Neighborhood Improvements Project, which right now we have a grant for about $12.5 million that we're trying to finalize. And That project's slated for $14 million. But as we look at the project, see what we get from the grant, do an evaluation process with our engineers, we're expecting to add some water and sewer to that as well. But we need to evaluate what needs to be done there before we know. So that project will be more than $14 million, most likely, once we evaluate what needs to be done for the water and wastewater utilities in that area. We have the Sandcastle Utilities Improvement Project. That is in conjunction with Public Works as well. The whole project in total is expected to be about $20 million. There is a grant for that project as well that is $16.5 million. That's with Public Works. They're going to be doing the drainage. Most of the grant is towards that drainage improvement in that area, but we are doing some water and wastewater as well, but those improvements are much smaller as part of the project as a whole.
And we'll go through a couple of projects just to give you a glimpse of some of these projects. I do want to mention that how we go about doing these projects, we really look at what the need is. We do condition assessment on some of these areas. Sometimes with drainage projects, it might be complaints, but with some of the sewer or water projects we'll see either there breaks or the infrastructure is getting old. So I just want to convey that. And we will be doing a risk analysis as we've talked about in the past. And as soon as our GES contracts are in place, we'll get a risk analysis done. And that'll also make it much more easier for us to decide where we need to do what projects. But all of these projects are based on due diligence, and usually that's why you see certain areas are getting more projects because of that reason. So I just wanted to let you know. And if certain areas we think we can wait, we're doing some operational things there. So I want to really call out Tremaine Johnson and his team. And they look at things that they can do operationally, and sometimes we can mitigate the impact, the immediate impact, and we can go to probably the next year to do some projects or next few years. So we can push some things forward a little bit by doing some mitigation because we have only that many dollars in our reserves. So just wanted to let you know that.
Yeah, the Lakeside Gardens Improvement Project, that project started originally as just to do water and wastewater and potable water. As we started that project, we looked into it and realized that the gravity sewers were failing as well and in really bad condition, and we figured while we were there, it would be best to replace those, get the best bang for the buck once again. It's the right thing to do for the constituents, so we did all three portions of that project. As we went on, like I said, we're finalizing this. We had some concerns that there's always going to be issues there with stormwater to some degree. I mean, they're at elevation 0, so they're right there. So no matter what, there's still always going to be some issues when there's major storms. But the whole thing that we wanted to do and accomplish with this project was meet our level of service to make sure that we can get that water off the off the roadway as quickly as possible, get it out to the outfalls, not have people stuck in their homes, and make it a much better situation. Like I said, we haven't even finalized the project at this point. We still have paving, which will significantly increase that flow into the basins and out to the outfalls. But with these storms, we didn't see any flooding. Everything was off the road within 24 hours. The Coquina Cove Drainage Improvements Project, this is something I know you've all heard for years that it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's finally happening. We're finalizing the easements for this. We're finishing the easement document with 735 and 801 Shore Drive, which we're going to put a new 36-inch outfall. And that will significantly increase all the flow that goes out in this area. We're doing rehabilitation of the lift station that's there, 12 gravity manholes, the sanitary sewer laterals, the clean outs. We're doing water there as well, and we're getting about $2 million from a grant to do the stormwater portion for this project. So we're really excited to finally get this project done.
And we were able to coordinate with FPL for undergrounding electric in some of those areas. So how that works, just to kind of remind everybody that if FPL feels that they need to do some undergrounding in that area, then they'll pay for it. Otherwise, they will ask either the residents pay for it or municipality pay for it. So usually we are not able to do that unless FPL themselves are able to come forward. So this one, we were able to work with them, and we are working with FPU for gas also in that area. But again, residents all have to sign up and agree that that's what they want, because they can't do it. One house, they can do it, and another house, they can't. It has to be all or none.
Water supply and treatment projects. First one is raw water main repair. This is the project that has caused traffic issues on Woolbright that everyone is aware of at this point. We are finalizing this project right now. Our substantial completion is next Friday, with final completion 30 days after that. Right now, if you drive by, the holes are backfilled. We still need to pave. Right now, we're in the process of flushing that water main, but we're hoping to have it back in service by the end of next week or the following week.
The road will still stay closed because the portion that Palm Beach County is working on, their bridge, that's probably going to take another month, right?
At least another month. We had a couple more conversations with them this week, but they do need to get get approval from the commission as well for some of the things that they need to procure to finish this project. I believe the new road decks have been poured at this point, but they need to go through a procurement process for some of the things to finalize that project. So they're thinking at least another month, if not two. But we're hoping to have our portion going westbound reopened within the next, I'd say 30 to 45 days. Structural repairs, clear well project, log 4 removal. This project is finalizing in design currently. We're expected to have 100% design within the next month or two and go into construction the beginning of next year. Log 4 removal means removing 99.99% of viruses from the water. So this is just something that everyone's moving towards as a minimum to be that log 4. It's not a requirement everywhere. It's starting to become a requirement. It's something that we're starting to see throughout the industry. So we're trying to get ahead of it and make sure that we're meeting those requirements before they come down on us and we're not meeting them yet. East Water Treatment Plant generator replacement, another project that's kind of been out there for a long time and that's been talked about. This is something that we've added more and more to as we've looked at the projects, trying to see how we can harden our plant, look at reducing energy costs. You know, everyone sees the FPL bills and how much they're hurting us as a city and they're hurting everyone. So we want to harden the plant, bring down those energy costs. So as we went through this project, it's to, put new generators in, do structural repairs. Our plant's very old, so as we started to look into putting all these things in our plant, we realized that some of the concrete in there is starting to fail, so we had to add portions to this project. But this is something that's finally in construction. We just are kicking off now, and we're expected to finish it next year, so we're excited to finally get this project done. The remodeling of the water quality facility, this is about a $2 million project. Right now, we're a West Treatment Plant. The water quality facility is just, once again, it's just very old. The AC is failing, the lab is leaking. It's just in really bad shape right now. So this is something that we're finalizing right now with legal and procurement. We're looking to get out to bid very shortly and have that done next year as well.
And so what we did was we moved the lab to the east plant so that they can continue working. And we are going to, once everything gets fixed, they'll be moving back.
These are a couple more water supply and treatment projects. The West Wellfield electrical upgrades. Right now, some of our wells over by Sun Valley are currently down, and that right now, specifically speaking for those wells, it's well 4, 5, 7, and 8. Once again, the electrical to those is just shot. It's old, so those wells are out of service currently. This project's in construction. We'll have this done next year as well. We're gonna have all those wells back in service. We finalized the easements that we needed for this project, and we worked with FP&L and coordinated with them to get a larger transformer so that we can supply these with energy all the time and make sure that we're able to have someone come out easily in the case that we lose power and get these wells back up and operational and continue to supply water. We also have the East Water Treatment Plant, high service pumps 5 and 6. We just gave the notice to proceed for this project. We're expecting this project to finish in the first quarter of next year as well. This is something that will also reduce the cost for electric. Right now, our high service pumps 5 and 6, they kick on very, very hard, and you can't really control at all times because of the way that the electrical is set up with them and the way that pumps used to be set up in the past. It just puts out a higher pressure, and it just shoots right up, and you can't control it going up slowly and then back down slowly. So these VFDs make it so that there aren't these water hammers. They're not causing main breaks. We can have better control of our pressures, and once again, better control over electric bills. This is the high service pump 5 and 6 project. Just described it, but it's the installation of 2 VFDs. And it'll be able to control potable water flow rate from the plant to the distribution system and help better maintain the pressures in the system. It also adds redundancy and more efficient operations and controls of those high service pumps.
Let me know if you need me to take over.
Oh, good.
Continue.
Wastewater collection system improvement projects, CIPP lining. This is in there every year. We're going, throughout every district in the city, making sure that we line a lot of these sewer pipes, make sure that we continue to get the life out of them that we're expected to get. It's some areas where you either don't want to open the road because maybe it was just paved, or the whole system's not failing in catastrophic shape, or you just have maybe some small leaks, small holes in that sewer. You can come in and line it. That's something that we continue to do every year. Town of Hypoluxo septic to sewer project. This project ended up being about $2.5 million. It is reimbursed by the city of Hypoluxo. We're not paying for this project. It is paid for by the township of Hypoluxo. They got grants to get rid of the last of their septics in their system. It's in a commercial area, and right now this is in construction. We'll have it done by the end of September. Lift station 410, 414, connection to the force main project. This is another one of those projects that we're going to see a lot of projects like this in the near future. Looking at the way that the sewer system was originally set up with where our wastewater treatment facility was prior to. Right now we have an issue with a lot of repumping where we pump back up north to pump back down south to the wastewater treatment plant that we have now. So we're trying to now make these connections to make it more efficient and once again lower costs for pumping, and also take some burden off of other mains that are just they're right now at full capacity. The Ocean Front Park, and I'm sorry, that is in design. Finalizing that will be done by January of next year, and into construction next year, hopefully finished next year as well. Ocean Front Park, wastewater treatment plant, the beach plant. Right now, this is getting finalized in procurement and legal as well. We're expected this to go out to bid hopefully within the next 30 days, and we'll finish that project next year as well. And that does have a grant as well. Master Lift Station 317, major rehab upgrades. That project, we're finalizing design. We're hoping to have it done August or September for design. Finalize construction for that project next year as well. Lift Station 410, 414, Force Main Extension Project. This is the one I was just speaking about. It does a couple things for us. One, it alleviates that repumping issue that we're having in a lot of portions of our city, but also we have a 24-inch gravity main on Southeast First right now that is basically at full capacity. And with the paving project going on that we're about to do with Public Works and put some drainage in, we don't want to reopen that road. So we need to be able to bypass that main to line it. So what we're doing is this project to take capacity off of that main and be able to go line that current 24-inch gravity main and the manholes without reopening the road that they're going to pave right now. Stormwater and drainage improvement projects, stormwater R&R. This is the same thing. This is just to go back, line some of those storm systems. A lot of the old storm pipes are corrugated metal, and they're just in really bad condition. They start to fail, but you can get a lot more life out of them for a lot better price just going and lining them. And it's a lot more convenient. You don't have to open the road, and you get a longer life out of them. Chapel Hill stormwater improvements, another one that we've been talking about a long time. It's finally happening as well. Right now, that is another one of the 2 projects that are at the top of my list for next year to get into design. We do need to do an RFQ for it. Because we're expecting the construction for that project to come back somewhere between, I'm expecting it to be between 7 and 10 million. I'm hoping to keep it in the 7.5 range. It just depends. There had been an evaluation done previously, and it was anywhere from 7 million to 12 million, depending on what you want to do there. But we do need to put conveyance pipe in. We do need to put a positive pumping station in to get that water out of there, just because of the significant amount of water that's in Chapel Hill during storms. So we are going to put an RFQ out for that first thing next year. We'll get that out, get it designed, and hopefully go to construction the following year right after. Quantum Lake stormwater improvements. That's another one that, it's a burden, but we continue to go in there and just continue to improve that system. Chapel Hill Neighborhood Project. So this is the main area that we'll be working in. The positive pumping station I was talking about will be on the northern end, near 23rd Street in the park over there. We are going to also look at the two small outfalls that we currently have there. I know there is some issues in the dead end portion, so we are going to look at the outfalls that we have there, see if we can make improvements to those as well. There's going to be some swales, but this is mostly conveyance pipe and new drainage pipes just going in, trying to get all the flooding out of there. Studies and master planning. We have a couple different plans. We have the water treatment plan, emerging contaminant treatment options, evaluation design. Poonam was just speaking about that, if you want to go into detail about that.
We just had a pre-bid meeting. It's out on the street, so we are in the cone of silence for this one. We should be getting a consultant on board, and as soon as that happens, we'll start looking at what are our options. They'll start evaluating and come back to us with some design recommendations for both plants, for the whole system. We didn't want to just work on one plant. We wanted to have a good idea of what will be needed for both plants, and then how do we phase it, because these plants have to be functional 24/7. So while we are building, whatever we're doing, we need to have a plan in place. So we'll be working with consultants to do that. That is an SRF loan. It's a state revolving fund, a loan which was a principal forgiveness. So that was a little over $5 million that we got. And we are hoping that that'll be enough for us to do the evaluation and the design. But we'll know soon once we get a consultant on board on that. We also have money for grant strategy and development. We've continued.
Excuse me, Poonam, before you move on to that next item, I just want to clarify, because I don't fully understand, what is emerging contaminant? Is it the PFAS and the PFAS? Does
It is
include that as well?
PFAS, but it's also other contaminants that EPA might identify and say down the road. What happens is EPA does what's called unregulated contaminant monitoring. So those are monitored for a certain number of years, and based on what the results are coming back from all throughout the country, they decide on what kind of amounts, what kind of standards they want to set, or whether they want to set standards. So we don't want it to just do it for the PFAS or just the identified 4 compounds. Right now that EPA has come back with the primary drinking water standards that have to be met by 2029. We also want to look at what else might be coming down the pike. So we are planning for it. The other thing we want to do is, because EPA's regulation requires us to meet those primary drinking water standards by 2029, having this project going, construction, we need to look at, do we need to do any gap, kind of like some construction or something else, if, and come 2029, we're not done with construction. So we're going to be asking them for what are the short-term fixes and stuff that we need to do, and what may be the longer term.
No, that's excellent. Great.
So we'll be working on that.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, we're going to continue, and initially the project was identified just as the west plant, that we were going to only replace membranes, but as we realized that these are some of the contaminants that are coming up that we'll have to plan for and figure out what we need to do, we decided it was much better to look at the whole system and treatment system, and then look at what will we need to do and get a kind of like a good idea of what the cost is going to be. We are seeing those costs go up, and so we just want to know what it is going to be and how do we plan for it, how do we pay for it, because that's something that we are going to do. And the grant strategy and development is, again, we put some money in there so we can get help from consultants if needed to write up grants so we can continue. And as you've seen, we have identified a number of grants throughout the CIP, and we'll continue to do that in the future. We are looking at SCADA cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is another one of those big items that utilities and almost all organizations have had to look at, and we work very closely with IT. But we have operational technology and information technology, and we have to look at both of those have to be robust. So we've got some projects ongoing. We don't talk too much about that because there's a presidential directive on these kind of things to make sure that we are following everything, but it's not something that's out in the public because it can expose or cause people to try and look for things. So sewer master plan and I&I study, this is going to be once we have, what do we need to do for the sewer? Remember when we had that SSO? So we have, the DEP is going to come back and let us know what they need us to do, but we also have things that we have already identified. And then once we do the risk analysis, we'll be able to add to whatever is needed for our sewer. But the risk analysis is going to be all our underground utilities. So we are just waiting to get some GES contracts in place, and we'll start doing some of these, we'll start working through some of the sewer main, anything else with SCADA, cybersecurity, and we have a couple of others that we'll talk about. Asset management is another one of those projects that we have kicked off. We have a roadmap that we've worked on with a consultant, and we are getting ready to put out an RFQ in the new year, and from I think around October 1st is when we plan on going out, so we can get a new system in place and look at an implementation plan for this. We have a climate adaptation plan. That's a Resilient Florida grant. That's a reimbursable grant. So when most of the grants are reimbursable grants, so what that means is that we have to have the money to upfront to go out and do what we need to do, and then we get reimbursed over time. So then we can shift those dollars, but initially we can only do so much because that's the amount of pot of money we have. And I've already talked about the infrastructure risk assessment that we're just waiting on GESs. And then we have utility sustainability and resiliency, green infrastructure, energy efficiency studies. I personally am very interested in looking at what kind of green infrastructure can be put in place. So I really want to get a consultant on board that can look at throughout the city and come up with some ideas that can be functional, that can work with our maintenance and operational staffing. And we don't want to plant some things and then not be able to take care of those. We want to make sure whatever we put in place is doable for our city and it matches with what we already have. So we'll be working on some of those in the near future. That's the end of our presentation. We're both here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Poonam, and I'm sorry, repeat your name?
Keith.
Keith, thank you. Briefly, before I turn to my colleagues, Poonam, please do connect with me offline. Earlier today, I received a message from one of our partners in the state. We have an extension on the Energy Conservation Block Grant Program, so we have more time on that, and there's over 100 grants slated for Boynton Beach, so we just need to push through. Let's go around the dais. Questions, there's a lot in these slides. There's a lot of interesting things, people that we've been caring about this and waiting for many years. So go ahead, Commissioner, let's begin with you.
Thank you both for everything you do. I'm pretty amazed to see the number of projects that are being worked on and everything you all are doing. So just thank you for that. And I just wanted to commend you as well for having the cybersecurity, because we understand some cities have been hacked recently and, with their water utilities, and we understand that that is a legitimate concern. And I am proud that we are allocating funding to protect the city from those purposes. So thank you for everything.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Poonam, the Sea Meadows South, does that, will that resolve the issues that our residents have had in Sea Meadow?
Yes. So I can speak to that a little bit. It will solve those issues. We are going to be upgrading all the water mains to 8-inch water mains, putting fire hydrants throughout Sea Meadows for fire protection throughout the entire community, as well as move all the water mains and sewer mains from between the properties out into the street. With that said, we'll also be running the laterals and the service lines back out to the street instead of out to the back of the homes. So we'll alleviate all those issues that we're having with the infiltration and the issues with the trees and roots and everything else.
Okay, great.
And we're bringing the clean outs out from under those also, and then those will be the residents' responsibility, but we want to do it well. So that's a problem. Right now, we can't go fix things because those clean outs are under those trailers. There's a lot of vegetation. There are some animals and other flora and fauna there, and it's not easy to really fix anything if something happens. And usually after the clean out is a resident's responsibility, but the way this development was taken over and it was just the state of affairs were the way they were.
Right, yeah, so, no, and I just want to thank you for jumping on that. I know this was kind of, when we did take that over, it was kind of a forgotten thing to handle and upgrade these utilities to, reduce that burden on the residents. So it was brought to our attention, and you guys are jumping on it to fix it, so thank you for that, and that's my only, just thank you for taking care of that, because I know that, to have residents that are, contacting us frustrated, and we're there to, and you met with them, and everything is good, so I just wanted to thank you for that, and just to clarify that resolves will hopefully resolve the issues, and then North is not having as many issues, or it's,
No, they're
No,
not having
they're
as many
different.
issues. We just don't get many calls out there. It's all really on the south side. That's where a lot of the issues come in. But we are also gonna design the north side and get that in for replacement as well. It's just very difficult because the entire cost of the project, if you're looking at the south side and north side, is upwards of $15 million plus, potentially. So since we are having issues on the south side, we wanna take care of that immediately and then address the north side in a couple of years as well. But we do have it in the CIP, so it's not something that's gonna get forgotten about. It's on our CIP, and we're gonna take care of that as well.
And we also have Tropical Breezes as another one of those developments that we are going to be working on in the next few years.
okay.
Similar kind of things.
Okay, good. No, I'm glad that they're back on our radar and we're taking care of it, so thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I have a bunch of questions, but I'll let my colleagues go first, and I'll circle back. Commissioner Hay?
No, I'm good. I want to thank you guys for all the hard work that you do, and just keep it up year after year. Good job, Poonam. And is it Keith?
Keith, yep,
Very good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Turkin?
Oh, big thanks. Big thanks. Speechless with all the projects you guys got going on, and, you've had quite the year, I gotta say. A lot of unexpected things, but you always maintain your composure, and you're always, able to, put the city first, and I appreciate that about you, Dr. Calcutt. And Keith, welcome aboard. And I know the residents of Chapel Hill are extremely excited for this project, but also very grateful for what's been done to kind of mitigate the issues now. We saw for our, seems to be like the first rainfall that we had for quite some time. A lot of the stuff that, not just utilities, but Public Works did to help mitigate that, we saw a difference. And, this is a neighborhood that's been neglected, not just with roads, but with infrastructure for decades. And so finally happy and, appreciate my colleagues for supporting this in the budget, long overdue. And just thank you guys for everything you do. You do a lot. And, now we got to worry about being hacked. It's crazy. So thank you again, and no further questions or comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Poonam, could we go back to, or whoever's controlling slides, go back to the slide regarding the heart of Boynton? I just wanted to make sure I understand that better. I keep getting questions about it. People are concerned about the delay and they don't understand what's happening. Could you just run through the bullet points of that and see if there's anything we can do more to move that forward?
Yeah, I guess they're talking about it. Heart of Boynton, right now, it's just finalizing everything with the grants. We're going through the entire grant process, trying to finalize that portion. And once we know exactly what we have with them, we're going into design. Right now, we're expected to go into design for that project this year. It's just a matter of finalizing all that. And then we also have to do an evaluation of the water mains and sewer mains in that area to see what we need to replace and what's feasible. Right now, we're expecting completion in 2027, so this is a project that is in the process. It's just a matter of getting to design and finalizing everything with the grants.
And the grant is mainly going to be for drainage areas. So that sometimes becomes a problem for us, because if we have to do water sewer also, then the cost really becomes a lot. But we want to maximize and do these synergistically, so that's why sometimes we have to think it through. And this grant hasn't come through yet. We don't know how much we are going to get. We are still waiting to hear. But the governor's signed the budget, so hopefully we'll be hearing soon as to how much money we get for this, and so then we can move forward.
All right, so is it also fair to say, surface improvements are also on hold because of this? Is that the reason, or is there
Yes.
something else?
Yeah, because we
Yes.
can't finalize what roads we're going to currently, so we need to know exactly where we're gonna have to put these mains in the ground and where we're gonna be making these openings, and then decide which, because those are the roads that we're gonna surface that are part of the replacement of those water mains, sewer mains, storm, et cetera.
Yeah, once we are able to design it, then we know what we need to do. So that's what the delay is. We don't want to go pave a road and then find out that we will probably have to open it again.
Okay, is there anything that this commission can do to support you more in moving this forward? Or you're close to the finish line and you're on track?
We think we are on track, but we will definitely let you know if you all need to make any calls about any. But these grants are really independent of the legislature, so we'll know once the grant is finalized. They usually wait for the governor to assign how much dollars are going to go for some of these grants. Once they know that, then they have a list of how the projects are scored and prioritized. That's when we know how much we are getting.
All right. Also, we had previously discussed sensors throughout our system to make sure that should there be a leak, that we'll be able to identify and respond to it much more rapidly. Is that incorporated into here in any way?
We do have pressure sensors throughout the city, and we monitor those. We are also looking at doing what we call leak detection, and we're doing it so that we're doing one what we think we want to do is like a satellite sweep throughout the city. That'll actually pick up on water, drinking water, wastewater, as well as fresh water, which would be the storm water. So if there are any leaks anywhere, it doesn't pinpoint completely, but it tells you that this is where probably a leak is, so you can focus on that. And we're also going to do a little bit more closer, in-depth leak detection for water, wastewater. But it's hard to put sensors all through, but we are looking at leak detection technology and see. So we're just finalizing which one we think will work best for us, and we should be going out for that. So we have money that we've set aside for that.
All right, thank you. I'll take the rest of my questions offline. I know we've got a lot on the table, but, okay, last call from my colleagues. Anything else for them? Thank you so much, both of you. Keep up the great work, and you've got a lot on your plate, so we look forward to it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is capital improvement presentations, the 302 fund, as well as the 303, the general and the surtax respectively.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Kevin Ramsey, Interim Public Works Director, speaking on behalf of Capital Improvement Projects 24-25. Try to get this right tonight. I brought a clicker with me, but she's still sitting back there, so I'll have to try this, I guess, by myself. All right, so tonight's agenda. I'll push the right button. I think I got it on yet. There we go, okay. All right. Tonight's agenda, 303 fund surtax proposed budget, project details, and 302 general fund. There she is. This is Adriana Greco Aracinvio. She actually hit 23 years yesterday for the city of Boynton Beach. All right. Clicker. You know, I'm talking about efficiencies. I can't do two things at one time, right? So anyway, source of funding. On the 303, we had surtax fund. That was our surtax fund. And it has been for, well, since 2017. That's over next year. It's done. 302, we had funding from gas tax, public service tax, CRA and reimbursements, and the Parks and Recreation Fund 141, I believe that is. Next. Proposed budget, 24-25. General government, 75,000. Total government HVAC is 35,000. Recreation and Parks, 3,037,000. Total public safety, as fire department and PD. Those are all in there. 791,000. total information technology, 75,000, and total transportation roadway, $1.4 million. All right. 303 surtax. City Hall carpet replacement, City Hall security cameras, we have 50,000 and 25,000. HVAC replacements for Fire Station 2, 35,000. 303 surtax recreation and parks projects. These are projects that we're proposing to do. I don't know if I should read them down the system. We're gonna do Arts and Cultural Center, interior paint on the second floor, interior first and second floor, actually. Barrier-free park, outdoor work area, barrier-free park painting projects, barrier-free park shade cell replacements. That park was built in 2000, I think it was finished in 2012, and it's in need of some repair. Boynton Beach Extension, Harvey E. Oyer cells. There's a row of 10 cells beyond that extension of that new dog park we put out there, and they need replaced. It's a minor cost, but it needs done. Centennial Park field modifications, that's right out here out of City Hall, outside here, our amphitheater. It's well used by Gabby and the events, and we're trying to find a way of where it can be maintained to the level that we should have it at. I have an idea how to do that. Denson Pool heaters, those heaters are done. They need replaced. Eco Park split rail fencing, we're hearing there's problems with off-road motor vehicles going into Eco Park. We're gonna put split rail fencing around to border that park to hopefully derail off dirt bikes, quad runners, et cetera.
What's your timeline on that, Kevin? Are you expecting that within
That can.
a year and a half?
Which what?
The fencing?
The fencing? That'd be a very fast move. That would be,
Oh.
yeah, no, it's just, that's my construction. That would
End
be
of the year? Before the end of the year? I mean, what is fast to you?
I need money, don't I? I need October 1 is money, so before Thanksgiving, Christmas?
Oh,
between
that's
those
great.
two?
Okay. all
Okay.
right. That is
So-
fast. To me, that's fast.
Okay. Wow. Okay, good. That'll be easy, right?
Yeah.
Just nothing. Galaxy Park Playground, there's some repairs there. Galaxy Park Turf, I believe that Gil Moots is working on that, actually, those two items. Hester Park Playground, that's the playground we talked about last night. That's one of the ones that are dilapidated and needs some help. That's the playground area. Intracoastal Park Clubhouse Pavilion and bathroom exterior painting. That's the building, the pavilions, the bathroom buildings on that site. We're all there 4th of July. It was presentable, but it should be up to a higher level than what it is right now. So we're gonna do that. Intercoastal Park, I did that. Intercoastal Park epoxy restrooms. Year after year, we go into these bathrooms. It's a heavy used area, so it gets wore down. We've tried the painting on the two-part epoxy paint. The right way to do it is the epoxy resin, so that was why that price was 25 grand for that. But it wears well, and it wears for 10, 15 years. J.C. Park Fishing Pier. J.C. Park Fishing Pier, this pier, it's in good shape. The pilings are great. But the X bracing supporting it, if you stand on it and you could shake it, it'll start wiggling with you. So those supports just need to be structurally redone on that to maintain. It'll have another 10, 15 years of life. Park, PIP replacement. That's our brand new park out here. It's not just PIP, it's also adding sales to that park. It's a very hot park, right? So the idea is to do PIP over and put sales over that park to make it longevity and presentable for this area.
Kevin, real quick, can I just, it's super quick. One of the things that I've talked to staff about over the last couple years with regard to KPOC, for that exact reason, because there's no shade trees, is trying to work with FP&L to see if they would put in solar trees to take advantage, because there is no shade, and it's a perfect opportunity to add some solar trees that maybe FP&L can partner with us.
Great idea.
And it would provide shade, and they may even do it for free if they're gaining that solar power. So maybe look at that also as an alternative to doing shades, because the shades do have to be replaced over time. Whereas if FP&L can do
I was
those.
part of the trees over there on Oceanfront Park when they put those in. so
Right.
What you're talking about.
Yeah, so let's look at that if we can,
Modern
please.
looking. They're nice.
Good suggestion.
Mangrove Park boardwalk removal. That's a big project. I think it has to be done. It's one of those, it's one of our agreements that we have to do to get that done. Meadows Boulevard City Split Rail Fence. We have a property over there off of Meadows Boulevard, and we've put no parking signs, and we're working with the HOA to calm them. They had tractor trailers parking on it, so same thing with dirt bikes. And I've reached out to Lake Worth Drainage District, because that's their gates on the, like I said, it'd be the south side of that property. So we're working with them, and we'll put split rail fence there too, is our plan to do that, to keep off-road vehicles off of there. We can still walk your dogs and have your day, but try to keep the bikes out of there.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, that's an area that we really want to take advantage of. That's another, area that we've never, it boggles my mind that we've never put trees there. We've never planted anything. We have this, open field, and we could, to imagine that how big a beautiful shade tree would be, and people would be, that would have alleviated some of the issues that they're having. But, so I'm glad to see that we're moving forward with that. That's something that, obviously has been very important to me and to the residents of the Meadows. So thank you for making that a priority. And we'll continue to work on that and making that space
Sure, it's a nice little
easier.
project that you do there.
Thank you.
Tennis courts, resurfacing tennis courts at Meadows, and also Sarah Sim security cameras. We did that park. Cameras have done its life. It's time for new cameras.
Kevin, before you move on, could you just explain, and it's also good for the public to know, those columns in yellow that have been left blank?
The columns in yellow that's been left blank is because we have pushed out our projects. These are years of future years, and there's no money for these particular projects in those future years, and you hit to the 5th year. All right, this is a 5-year plan. We're definitely deep into a 10-year plan right now, but for right now, so for these purposes, after this year and these projects, there's no funding going forward. We're into our 302 now. This is the last year of the 303. That's what that means. There's no more funding from this point forward on
Yeah.
303.
Thank you. That's what I
we've
wanted
used it
you to
all up.
clarify, so
Okay.
everyone's on the same page. My worry is what happens afterwards. I wasn't sure if staff internally had discussions already, what we might do when the time comes, if it does not get renewed, or is that something still to be developed?
So my understanding now is the county is looking at potentially re-upping their surtax in 2026 for a referendum vote. I believe the school district is going out this year for their penny sales tax re-up. It is going to transition from basically full use to mainly doing infrastructure and transportation. So we're hoping that happens. That'll definitely be a good thing for the city to give us a dedicated revenue source to come into the fund to help with offset some of our infrastructure and transportation projects.
If that does not occur, then definitely have some hard discussions in the future.
Well, and just super quick, one of the things that I know I've spoken to staff about and suggested is, is looking at what we have optionally as far as, potentially a sales tax, half a penny or whatever, to capture visitors and travelers and people that come into the city that are using our facilities. And how can we capture that? And can we capture that, internally within the city by doing a half a penny sales tax, as a dedicated source for us to kind of capture that from visitors and tourism? So we can't. You're shaking your head. Okay.
Yeah, I think that point actually came up.
Yeah, that's actually it's a county. Only counties are allowed to do that, not municipalities. So that's not something we're able to do.
Are there options, though, for municipalities
To
do
capture a
anything?
sales tax. I'm, not that I'm aware of. I mean, it's certainly something my office can look into. But I know that we specifically looked into that issue, and it was not, it's specifically, the statute only allows counties to do that.
I think we have to get creative and what we can do as a city especially when it's kind of up in the air as far as what the county is gonna do, but.
Some of the things they do that I've seen in other municipalities, is typically with parking fees and those sorts of things, which I know the parking fees have not been adjusted for some period of time, but that's typically where they use those fees for their parks and stuff like that.
Right, okay,
But I can
Okay.
certainly look into other
okay,
methods.
thank
Yeah,
you.
if there's large projects that the commission wants to do in the future, we could always revisit the GEO bond that I think we were saying that we wanted to wait until the Fed fund rate comes down was one of the primary concern of the body. So we can also revisit that at a later time.
Yes, the question, if there's projects that I would like to happen, yes, there definitely are. I think in the past, there was discussions about a potential water park, and people kind of just put that aside as a pie-in-the-sky idea. So, I mean, there's plenty of things we could do, but not right now. But we are plenty with ideas. Let's keep going.
Okay, so I've highlighted a few of these projects, recreation and parks highlighted projects. The Berry Free Park outdoor work area, right now, that was our little work zone. The equipment is met its end of life, so we're gonna pull that whole area up and put in a nice PIP area to do aerobics, and maybe they can do other events there. We don't have enough money to do brand-new equipment. And if I did put equipment, I'd put a solid state cover over it so it wouldn't ruin our equipment so quick. All right. Berry Free Park painting. This is the pavilions, the bathrooms. That park is 12 years old. And it has some painting, but it's due for new paint. Barrier Free Park sail replacements. Again, the sails have been there this entire time. They've took some hit, they've took some wind damage, and they've done their time, so we're gonna try to replace that and rejuvenate that park. This is the Centennial Field modifications. The idea is to encapsulate from the sidewalks inward a nice concrete area where you could put benches and seats, and then from a nice band, sort of like symmetrically with the other ones, we're gonna put in from there artificial turf for 2 bands, and then right toward the stage out will be a live sod. The thought process with the use that we're using, we can't really have live sod because we're gonna get what we have, okay? And we've had quotes of maintaining that up towards of $400,000 a year. Well, maybe we should dump in some money to make it where it's not so costly every year. That's the thought process behind it, okay? K-Park, we talked about that. That's the park we're gonna put sails in, and now we'll look into the trees. It's a good idea. Next one. This is JC Park Boardwalk. We're gonna be removing that once we get that going forward, so this money is set for that. And that's just a shame, but it's one of the things we have to do.
Is the plan still to leave the stilts in? I think they're called stilts, or whatever they're called.
That'll be determined through the environmental permitting.
Okay.
That's something that we're still that will, as soon as our general engineering contracts get approved, I think, which is on the agenda for the 16th, then we'll be moving forward with the design and permitting.
It comes from DEP?
Correct, yes.
Thanks.
Okay, public safety projects. Planning on putting in a digital sign at Fire Station 3, a proper digital sign. Fire Station 4 bay floor painting. Station 4 was built in 2005, finished open in 2006. It's 18 years old. We have some apron issues, and we have some bay floor. That bay floor was the epoxy flooring. We're gonna dress up that apparatus bay for the fire staff. Fire Station 4 security cameras. Those cameras are needed and they need to be replaced. Now, Fire Station 5 is gonna get some love. It needs it. That was the first thing I built when I got here. We're gonna do second floor interior painting. It has never been painted on the second floor interior of that building. The exterior walls and ceiling, that building is a precast panel wall. That means they stand it up and there's a bead of caulking between every panel within every 9 feet. That's lasted since 2009. That needs done. The exterior needs painted. The roof is 5 inches of concrete. It's a 2-part epoxy system. That's why it's a Category 5 building, and that needs to be redressed and resealed again. PD day trim phase 2 and a PD patrol laptop replacement. Here's the highlighted projects, just a picture of a digital sign that we'll be putting somewhere in front of 3. And it's not, I don't think we're gonna go with the same design. I'm not quite sure how that's working. So there's $25,000 in for that one. And we're putting in nearly $500,000 into Fire Station 5. Next one. You keeping up? Good. Good for you. Information technology. This is IT. $75,000 from the 303 fund toward laptop replacements. Very low, but we're running out of, we were trying to do the best we could budgeting within that last dollars of 303 this coming year. Transportation projects. That's a shame. 5-year landscape median plan. This ties sort of into our beautification in the streets department, right? That's gonna go in conjunction with that. There's big plans for that department. Bridge repair, that's a every year bridge maintenance. Same with Drive Safe Boynton. We wanted to up it to $150,000 this year. And there's some ideas behind that to make it more efficient, but we'll work on that in-house. FEC crossing, that's another one that's just a given. Our 6 crossings throughout the city, that's a cost of doing business with FEC. Lawrence Road beautification, this is a lot of planning we're trying to do this year to see if we can do something new with Lawrence Road from Hypluxo to Gateway.
Is this planting of trees along the median? Is that what that is, or is this something else?
That is what we're trying to do, and some planning to do that. We're working right now with Palm Beach County, and it's probably gonna be a slow process, I imagine.
Oh, to be developed. Okay, all right, thanks.
Oceanfront ADA ramp. Right now, we have an asphalt ramp down there from the lower parking lot, and it sort of rides up the hill. It doesn't meet ADA. We're gonna try to fix that and finesse that. And then again, we have the general, every year, $100,000 for ADA sidewalks. And this year, street maintenance is only $500,000. That's, it's a shame. It's what it is, and it's all right. The cottages paving, that was an agreement with the developer to do the roads around that whole development. They're paying a portion and we're paying the other portion. So we'll get new roads around that, and I didn't assign the $500,000 to any particular area. I have one in mind, but it's the worst road. But we'll leave that to be determined as well.
Kevin, educate me, unless you're already gonna do it later down the presentation, but
Okay.
what is included in street maintenance?
Street maintenance is that's our catch-all account to do like all the paving we did this year.
Okay,
In the beginning of this year. That was, usually we have $1.95 million in account every year.
so like the street sweepers, not that?
No, sir, that's out of budgeting. That's out of our streets department. It's out of our sanitation, but streets oversees that, which will be now the beautification and streets department. Yes.
While we're on this topic, the paving portion here, we are currently out to bid. We're hoping to award the Gulfview Harbor project for paving that's coming up on the 16th. I think, as you all know, we've run into some roadblocks with the use of ARPA funds for the paving. So in order to facilitate that project and keep it on schedule, we are looking at potentially delaying some of the projects that you're seeing here today. That $500,000 in paving would be delayed next year if we go ahead and award that project on next Tuesday. If we can work out the stuff with ARPA, then we would just add these projects back in mid-year or whenever we can. But I just wanted to give you a heads up, there's a few projects here that we'll be recommending delaying to account for about $1 million worth of this funds to go ahead and do the Gulfview Harbor project. Similarly, we'll be looking to do the same thing for Lake Boynton Estates. Potentially, when that bid opens and we know what the actual dollars are for that project, when we either bring back for a discussion item for the commission to discuss potentially either delaying projects, pulling from fund balance, or however we're going to do those projects, or delay them as well. So again, there's some questions that we'll be bringing up. I just wanted to point out there are a few projects that you're seeing here that when we initially submitted the CIP, they may get delayed based on some changes with the ARPA roadblocks.
No, thank you for being upfront about that. I didn't realize. All right, thank you, Kevin, and Andrew, let's keep going.
Okay, 302, proposed budget. General government, 2.46 million. Total government, 0 for HVAC. Total recreation and parks, $2,365,000. Total public safety, $325,000. And total transportation roadway, $5,373,000. That makes no sense. Okay. Arts and Cultural Center. The auditorium, we're trying to get that done, $1.1 million. And this is a proposed budget. So we took the best shot at it. Audit fee, they're given every year. Digital signs, this is the balance of the digital signs we had this year. So it's $75,000, and I believe that we're gonna put those along the federal highway where there's an ICP, the locations are yet to be determined. That's the thought for those 3 signs, somewhere along to get the notice out for our 4th of July events and our Centennial Park events. So that's the money set aside for that. Entrance feature signs, that's different. That's something we're gonna try to get into and design and see if we can put a mark onto this city as far as not so much branding, but maybe knowing that you're definitely in Boynton Beach. That ties in again to the beautification of the streets department that's coming up next year. Little League site improvements, $1 million. We'll see a slide a little bit further down on that one. Portable bathroom trailers. With all of our events and all of our plastic portalettes, it's come to mind that maybe $480,000 we can get a couple beautiful air-conditioned and relocatable trailers that we can do events here and Sarah Sims, and that's the thought process behind that $180,000. Okay.
I'm sorry, Adam, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I just wanted the mayor and commission to know that these portable bathroom trailers were the result of the development agreement with Town Square, so these will be reimbursed, the $180,000.
Great point, that's right. And thank you to staff who put that in there, into the agreement. You know who you are. Anyways, go ahead, Kevin. I appreciate the things.
Okay. General government highlighted projects. This is our auditorium, first one for $1.1 million. We have the designs out for that. It's in for permitting right now. Okay. We spent $120,000 to design it with hopes of getting it done. Digital signs, $75,000. Again, that's going to be along the east side of the city and maybe some inside interiors. Little League. This is a phase project. This is a Gail Moots project, and she really has all the ins and outs of that. She gave this to me. I haven't seen her statement of need yet for that. It looks great. Recreation and Parks. 302 fund. Barrier-free pickleball court lighting, $80,000. We have a pickleball court out there. It's very used, and we're going to try to put some lights on it. Forest Park, Future Park. This is another Gail Moots project. I think it ties in, Andrew, if I'm right, with the diocese deal.
No, right now, we're currently looking at, with the Presbyterian Church, the potential purchase of a small parcel there to create a neighborhood park in Forest Park. And we'll be using, this is slated to use park impact fee dollars. If we're successful in acquiring that parcel, then we're planning to do a small neighborhood park there with this money.
Miscellaneous small park projects, $40,000. This is what happens, this money is, a playground goes down. We can grab and buy and repair quickly. Pioneer Canoe Park boat ramp. That's gonna be a grant. Where's Mira at? She's great. The city's putting in $250,000, and it's actually $1,020,000 that we're gonna, the grant is $880,000, so we've paid out and we get reimbursed on that one, much like we did the Oyer boat ramp. Did she get nothing? Okay. Pioneer Canal Park tennis courts resurfacing. Rolling Green Tower, that's a thing through PD, replacing the tower. I think that most of you know about that. That's for the building portion of it, the guts of it, not the tower itself. And Sarah Sims Cemetery, $350,000. Those plans are designed, surveyed, and they're being designed right now. And the last one is the Senior Center Master Planning and Design. We're trying that, all right? And then the next page will be.
Kevin, one
Yes.
second. I remembered that we've had residents come to us complaining about the shootings that were happening on Minor Road east of I-95. They were requesting for more lighting. I wanted to just circle back on that, because if that's do you remember that? Yeah, you remember that? There was at least one lady, yes, and I wanted to know if we've circled back on that, and if we need to make investments into street lighting using these funds.
No, I think typically what we do is with FPL, that it's a tariff program, so they add it, and then we just pay, they absorb the cost for the initial installation.
We don't pay for any portion.
Sometimes we do pay for design, like on Minor Road when we did
Yes.
the west side, like you mentioned. But when it's in a neighborhood like this and you're just, and the infrastructure's there, they're just added onto a pole or one pole. They'll
Okay.
go ahead and add it and they'll absorb the cost, and then we just pay our monthly tariff fee going forward from there.
Okay,
So it wouldn't be a significant cost that would make it to the CIP.
Got it.
Could it be under the threshold?
okay. And while I'm just remembering that, there was also a new subdivision inside of Sky Lake that also did not have any streetlights. I don't know if you guys remember that. But if design is what we cover, then I assume that for design of any other future locations, Sky Lake or not, do we already have funds for that?
Typically, those type of small projects, we include money for design in the engineering department division budget.
be covered,
So,
okay.
yeah, we have in our outside consultant fees there, so we have like small projects that come up, and we use that money to cover
That's
that.
what I wanted to know. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Andrew. Thanks. So I'm gonna put a check on that is already covered.
I will mention that we haven't identified that project, so I will circle back with you.
Yeah, please do.
To make sure that we're getting that project into this system.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna ask how we're keeping track of the ones that aren't on CIP.
yeah. Oh,
Lost. Right,
that's a good question.
Right.
Right, I assume staff has some sort of
right.
system. Yes, somebody else? Who? You wanna, okay, all right, go ahead, keep going, Kevin.
This is some highlighted projects that we just spoke about, the barrier-free park, pickleball courts, and Pioneer Canal Park boat ramp, which is way overdue, and we're gonna take care of that. And the tennis courts at Pioneer Canal Park. Next slide is Sarah Sims Cemetery. This area is gonna have new fencing, it's gonna be expanded and beautified as well, and more plots. Almost there. Yeah. 302 safety projects. Big list and one item on there, which is the boat dock and lifts for the fireboat, the new fireboat. Those plans are done. Those plans are in permitting. Those plans will be out permitting pretty soon, I imagine, Adam, and we'll start pricing it. He's always picking on me, so I'm picking the guy. Public safety projects continued. $75,000 for police laptops. Very thin. This is the FD boat ramp. That's gonna probably bleed into more projects in the future. So,
Is that him? I mean, it's a little blurry, but the guy has a black shirt and some jeans, so it might be him.
looks like Bruder's backing that truck into the taillights. It's okay.
Let's keep going, please.
All right, information technology. PC laptops, this is through IT, for IT. Transportation projects in the 302. Southeast First, that's $3.4 million plus $400,000 for the EM that was gonna oversee that project. That's actually a FDOT LAP grant. We have a $1.5 million reimbursement from them for that project. The next one is Southeast 36, that's the one down by Walmart, and that's a conjunction thing with now utilities, because they're adding water lines to it. So that's in design, the additional water lining is in design, and we hope to get that drawing out and bid early fall on that project and get it done before hurricane season next year. And the last one is this, where this is a cost share with DOT, the Southeast 6th Avenue pedestrian crosswalk. They're putting in the crosswalk, and we're just putting some money toward it. So the next one is really just, we know where Southeast First is, but that's sort of a map of it. And the other ones, potential paving restoration projects. If there was funding, we have already mapped out the ones that we could go with no stopping, no utilities in our way, and in-house staff that could design it and get them done quickly like we did this year. Any questions? Okay.
All right, Commissioner Cruz.
Thank you. I had a brief, very short conversation about this, not a long one, but
And while you're speaking, could staff just roll back one slide so I can keep looking at that? Thank you. Keep going, Commissioner.
Yep, thank you. So what I wanted to request, I remember that we increased the park impact fees, and I remember that's something that caught my attention on my first term, and finding opportunities to find funding for parks. We don't have a lot of parks on the west side of the city, and what I wanted to advocate for is to get some funding. I see that there's another park that we're proposing for Forest Park, but I also wanted to use some of the park impact fund fees for the Leisureville Park. It's not gonna be as expensive, it's gonna be more of a passive park, because that's what they want, but I did wanna allocate some funding for that purpose. Because as we do the Lake Boynton Estates road resurfacing and we create that U-turn, I kind of wanted to do that simultaneously, so I just wanted to make sure that we put some funding aside from the park impact fund fee for that purpose.
I think we have about 500,000 in that account. No?
No, you don't. You have 175K.
We have 175K, so we don't even have the 250 to purchase the Forest Hill.
Yeah, that's property acquisition, I think. There's not a park there yet. I
Correct.
think they're
We don't-
looking
So
next to
it's
the
it's a
church.
property, so we don't even have enough money in that account to do the property acquisition. Okay, so I must have misheard then.
I mean, Commissioner, does it matter exactly where it comes from as long as there's funding for
No,
the
I mean,
park?
not necessarily. Ideally, we want to use those funds, especially because we did have that proposed increase to try to get more funding from the business community for that purpose. But as long as we get some funding for
Yeah.
it,
Isn't it for?
I would be okay with.
I mean, based on the numbers they said, there has to be multiple sources, just,
Yeah.
it's not
Sewer
enough to cover.
expansion.
All right, let's respond, staff, it looks like you're about to say something.
No, I just was gonna mention that the Leisureville project, that's something that we can look at potentially doing in-house, as far as the design, similar to some of the other smaller projects, because it sounds like that's something that we could do the design in-house and maybe use the minor construction to do. So it should be
Anderson, I assume?
Yes, correct. So that should be something that we might be able to.
It might not cost too much money,
Correct,
right?
exactly.
But can we add it as a line item just so that it's on the record and
We'll make sure that when we go towards, again, as long as there's no more changes here, we can add it for the budget hearing in September.
okay. All right, thank you.
Can I quickly comment?
Yes, go
So I was quoting you fiscal year '23, but I just looked at our revenue report, and it's now mushroomed to 450. So there is a 200 and, what is it? Yeah, there's some other revenues that came into the fund, so it's up to 454 as we speak today.
Okay.
Good.
All right, thanks, Tony.
Yeah, sorry.
Just to recall, the park impact fee, that's for new parks or expansions of parks, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. As we get dense, we need to have green space. Yep. And at Forest Park, I've been hearing that for the last 3 years, getting a park in that neighborhood, my neighborhood. And, I know a lot of the older residents want somewhere they can be. And I know the church has been looking at selling that property, and they want to do something with the city. And so hopefully we can get that done, especially when we have thousands and thousands of units coming right across the street. and that density increasing. I think it's fair for the residents to have some sort of green space. So, yeah, thank you
And the
for.
residents of District 1 also deserve a park, so it would be fair to have, you know.
Everyone deserves a park. guys.
Everyone
Everybody
deserves a park, right?
so-
Everyone deserves a park.
Just-
Whoa, I don't know where you're coming, I don't know, yeah.
We'll get
Parks for
staff.
We have the funding, so.
Whatever you're.
We will-
All right.
we have the
Yeah,
funding.
we got
All
the
right,
funding.
get it
Have the
Thank,
funding.
thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you both of you. Let's keep going. We got it. We're moving forward. There will be money for parks. Okay, we love them. We love them. Kevin, did you have anything to add, or can we just keep going forward? Okay, so Commissioner Cruz, was there anything else? It sounds like that was it. Okay, Vice Mayor, was there anything on you? Okay, anything else from here? Commissioner Hay.
Yes. Kevin, you have quite a few projects there.
Not as many as utilities, unfortunately.
Now, did I miss, we talked about this before, the infrastructure for south of MLK and east of Seacrest, that infrastructure going in there, so we could come back and pave those streets like we did on the north end?
Yeah, so that was the project that Poonam was talking about, that they're looking for. They're doing the planning and design right now, and they're waiting for the the award of the grant. Once we know and that project's, if we get the money, awarded the grant money, then we'll forward that project through to design. So we're just waiting for the grants. And then once that's done, they identify what roads that we could pave now, and then what roads they're gonna have to tear up in the future.
Okay, that sounds good. Kevin, you know, from I guess a quality control standpoint, are there any regular audits or evaluations of the completed project to assess their long-term performance?
That's through our Parks Department if it's a park, and our engineering and construction services if it's streets and sidewalks. The goal was we're rushing and we're trying to get these streets done, and we want to put onto a rotational maintenance of our roads, right? We're about $9 million away from being done with everything with the exception of Chapel Hill and Ridgewood Estates right over here behind the church to Galaxy up to MLK. Those are the two areas that have some flood issues that need some design for drainage. So as far as bells and whistles and checks and balances on our infrastructure, yes, there is, and there need to be, like for parks instance, we have some rollovers with recreation. I think the new director of Fabian, he's very energetic, and I think that between him and our park staff, it's initial way of monitoring those. It seems like they're our biggest customers, parks. They're our biggest customers, without a doubt. And CIP, they're our biggest customers. They get the most use, they're most visual, and they need to be looked at.
So what strategies do you have in place to extend the lifespan of capital assets?
Okay, well, it depends on what that asset is, right? If it's equipment as far as HVAC, it's proper maintenance of those units. If it's our vehicles, same thing. We have, the vehicles are down to science with Dave Prasad of Fleet. If it's a park, there's many aspects to it, whether it's a PIP. There's some things, right now, the city's built these parks, like all this pour in place, play surface, right? There's a product that you can condition that rubber with that extends the life of that. We haven't been doing that yet. Those are things that we're gonna get into to do. We need to start focusing, we're always reactive, right? We have a brand new football field.
Right.
That football field has a contract for maintenance, like one of the best things in this city. We did that before we left that contractor alone. That was all, yes, sir, and we're paying for that. That's in line with the field manufacturer themselves, not some off-the-wall piece of people. It's first class, it's made for what it's for, you know? So that's where we're moving as we go forward. There used to be a lot of Band-Aiding in the city years ago. Until man right over there, stop that.
Well, we can
You know?
talk about it. Can you go back to the first slide with the funding sources?
Very first slide?
I mean, I think what Kevin's talking about, you know, I mean, without the surtax, we've had a lot of deferred maintenance. I think a lot of cities in the county, you know, we just didn't have the money to maintain what we had. So you lost product. You lost years of life on things because we just deferred maintenance. I think what Kevin's looking, and I'm glad you're bringing this up, and I'd like to give kudos to this commission because over the last 2 years, you're one of the first commissions to actually fund CIP out of the general fund. 250 last year and 750 this year. If you go back to that first I think it's the very first slide, that one, you can see general fund from 2017 all the way up to 2023. $0. $0. So, I mean, we've relied solely on the surtax. It leaves us in a little bit of a lurch right now. We're gonna have a little gap between, like, and hopefully the county does what they're gonna do with the surtax and extends it, which gives us additional revenue. But, you know, this is something that going forward, in actuality, I'll give props to Chief Bruder. I mean, his idea of using the fire assessment to kind of ease that burden over the next couple of years, where he's pulling some of the public safety projects out of our CIP and funding it with the fire assessment funding is a big win for us if you guys choose to approve that tonight. So I think going forward, we have some plans to get funding. It's going to get a little dicey here in the next year or two, and we're going to have some kind of hard decisions to make. We're delaying some projects to get others done, and then, you know, some assets are going to have to be taken out of service. The fishing pier is one of them. We took that out. We have a plan, a great plan to replace it. We just don't have the money right now. So we're going to continue to look for the grants, look for additional revenue sources, and hopefully we're able to start funding the capital plan back the way we used to prior to 2017.
I know I saw Betty at the Zell Hester Field grand opening. The first thing she said to me was, "What's up with the fishing pier at RVR?" Like the very first thing. So I know a lot of the people, especially in District 2 along Federal Highway and things like that, they're definitely interested in that fishing pier.
Right. Kevin, before you go away,
Not done yet, Kevin.
just for clarity, how do you go about prioritizing your CIP projects, or what goes into it? What's the process? Because you have a lot on your plate there.
It depends on, with our street projects, my mentality, my thought process is I want them done before hurricane season. Right now, we have some rejuvenation coming over to Gulfview Harbor after that town meeting we had. It's supposed to be mid-July, right? The rains caught them up in North Florida, so now I'm down toward end of August, Priority, it is seasonal, and first, what can I do quickly to secure POs? I found there's a quick little window between the first 2 weeks of October, so once you guys approve a CIP plan, what I can do with in-house staff design or writing scope and services for minor constructions to where I'm out to bid in September. So when October comes, I'm going to finance. I'm going to Tony, give me my POs and let me start working on this. Because in the real world, the contractors, they're winding down that last year, but they want to get that work done to have a high return on their profits, right? For the shareholders, look what we've done. We've closed off this year with a strong. So it's advantageous for us to do those things. So it's economic, and it's what's coming up that we know about. It would be great in the real world to have, hey, we're going to do a fishing pier in this year. Let's get a design. Let's go hunt down some grants. Let's have some drawings done. Drawings are fairly cheap, and most times I'm finding with these grants is that if you have something to show that you already invested, which is usually minimal, they're they're ready to give you the money because you're ready to go. They know you're serious. So maybe we need to shift gears maybe a little bit. And maybe this law might be a blessing in a way to rethink some of these things, So
I'm glad you took that time to explain that, because several projects are on the books for year after year after year, and nothing is done. And there's a reason for that, and I wanted you to address that process.
And
So-
yes, sir. And our CIP, Public Works runs the CIP. So we deal with the library, the PD, the FD. Yeah, we bring them into our fold, but we control the run. The elected body says, if we tell you we're going to do these projects and you agree to it, I am under the impression that you expect them done, period. And so that's my marching orders, once we have that. So whenever I'm running the CIP and I have PD come in there and they're not quite on board, our last CIP meeting is like, we need to do this as a project. Here's your schedule. By this date, you should have your scope of services done, your scope of work ready, you should be out bidding it, and this is, by this date, you need to have a PO in hand so you can make this end date. Now, granted, some projects are longer ran, but most of the ones that we have, there's nothing I don't think we can do in our CIP within that time frame. Except for a Hester football field.
Can I
Those
mention?
that carry over, are
Yes.
those higher on the priority list?
Yes, because they're longer lead items, right? So they're more intense, but it's really good to come out of the gates running and knowing what we're after. That's part of what I'd like to do. If you have a clear scope of service or a clear scope, even for our consultants, we have rotational consultants in the city. If you come forward with a scope of service for them, don't let them tell us what the scope of service is to put a Hester football field job in, right? We're telling you, this is what we need, this is our service that we expect from you. Because what I found, taking over this situation in construction services, was that we'd get construction administration's proposals once a consultant gave us a design. And it was inflated, like, here's gonna cost you so many hours for us to make payroll, to check your pay apps from your contractors. Like, why are we doing that? That's a waste of money. So I cut them down. We had one on Industrial Way. This is one of my best ones. Industrial Way, it came in at 174. We knocked them down to 29,000. So we saved 146, and the project was 1,071,000. And there was adds and deducts of change orders, but by being focused on those projects, we actually did the project for $24,000 less than the original PO. So, I mean, that's what construction services does. When you're focused and you're into it, that's what you need. And you need that without a bunch of different hats. And that's what was happening when we created this construction services department. It actually zeroed us in. I think the same thing's gonna happen with beautification and streets. That's the way I work. That's the way, methodical, you know, so.
Thanks, Kevin,
Yes,
for
sir.
putting that out there.
All right.
If you might, just give Kevin his kudos here. I mean, over the last 3 years, Kevin took over construction services, and I think Tony can attest to this. We've completed more projects in the last 3 years than probably the previous 5 or 6 that I've been here. So, I mean, you've seen his team, and his team is small. It's a very small team. He doesn't have a huge staff, but they crank out their staff. Plus, like he mentioned, negotiating very fervently with the contractors and the vendors and saving the city money. His team has done and saved the city millions of dollars, and I really appreciate it, Kevin.
Yeah, we do.
Fun.
Probably need to drop that interim title, huh?
You know, I'm just doing what I'm doing. I'm quite happy. Thank you very much. Whatever you guys ever need. Is that it?
We'll get Hugh to get up here and lobby on your behalf.
We got a seat for you.
If
okay?
that's the case.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Next fund, 303, surtax.
We just did.
Oh, I'm sorry. Both were included. SHIP and CDBG. Sorry to scare you, Kevin, sorry.
It's like, please don't make me do that again.
Mayor and Vice Mayor, Commissioner, this is R.J. Ramirez, I'm the Community Improvement Manager. This item is a non-budgeted. These are 2 grants, the Community Development Block Grant and the CHIP grant. These are formula grants that the city gets every year, and the allocation depends on different factors. Formula that comes from the Senate and also from the state of legislature. So just going to talk about what's going to happen, what's happening here this year, 24-25. So when it comes to that's $265,000, $361, that is just to pay the staff that is paid by these 2 grants. So and that's for my position and also the construction coordinator that assists me with the rehabilitation projects. So the difference between the 23-24 and 24-25, On the CDBG grant last year, we got 522,000. Today, this year, we'll get 565,144. Something to understand with the CDBG grant is that the CDBG grant runs in a 8-year cycle, meaning that when we get a grant, we have 8 years to expend it, meaning that I can be working with 2018 funds still that when it's going to expire until next year. So I'm running multiple years on these 2 grants, on the CHIP grants. Last year, we got 937,892. And this grant is not going to expire until 2027. So I'm working, just closed out last June, the fiscal year 2021, that closed on 2024. So 2024-25, the CHIP grant went down to 622,748. And this one that is going to start on 2024 is not going to expire on 2027. So at this point, I'm juggling multiple years during these 2 grants, and expenditures are happening simultaneous during these different years. So something to understand there. So the success of this grant is that we continue to provide the services to the low-income community. Housing programs are one of them, some of the public services, some of the ones that we provide, elderly assistance that we are funding right now, and also we are providing some fair housing, which is a key element for the city because we have $19.6 million in grant that require the element of fair housing. So since the city doesn't have a fair housing coordinator, we partner with a nonprofit organization that provide some of that service to be able to comply with these grants. So, and some of the other assistance that we provide to this is the purchase assistance program. We provide the limited rehab for the elderly and disabled. There is a grant that goes to the individuals that are homeowners that are 62 years older and or disabled. And also the rehabilitation program, that is a 15-year forgivable loan. Also, we have the rapid housing programs. So just to give you an idea of what we have committed in activities that are already in progress, 4,235,588.02 are funds that have been committed that has gone out to the low-income community in different projects and activities. So from the CHIP grant fund, there is 1,553,618.44. Once again, these are multiple years that I'm running in these expenditures. So out of that, we spent about $982,583.44 in house rehabilitation for the 15-year forgivable loan, $371,025 on purchase assistance, $200,000 on rapid rehousing. So with the CDBG, $2,681,939.58 from CDBG funds. And some of that, $935,000 has gone to limited rehabilitation program to assist the elderly and or disabled. 26 houses has been rehabilitated for the senior, elderly, and or disabled. So, so then we have some still funds. Once again, when I mentioned that these programs are running, the years are running simultaneously, we have about 1,363,784 with 90 cents that we have until 2026 to spend. Now we go to the fiscal year 2024 that is going to expire on 2027. That's the 622,748 that we're going to get on this 2024 year that is going to expire on 2027 for the CHIP grant. So with the CDBG grant, we have the 565,144. That is the grant that is going to go from 2024. We have 8 years to spend it to 2032. So out of the CDBG grant, we have 20% that can go toward planning and admin, which is $113,028.80. And then we have the public part of it, which is up to 15%, which is $84,771. And the other one is the 65% that can go toward other activities, which is $367,943.60. Out of that portion comes the $90,000 that goes toward the construction coordinator. And one of the reasons that we can justify that position is because the housing element has to be in the CDBG grant to be able to justify that position. And I think that, well, challenges, The only challenge that I have right now is the purchase assistant, even though the market is cooling down a little bit. The people that participate in the CHIP program, they're having a hard time competing with cash offers out in the market. Also because the prices of household or income individual having a hard time meeting the income ratios to be able to purchase home. If you guys have any question, I will be happy to answer any question you might have.
Questions?
Go ahead, I don't want to get yelled at, so you go ahead first.
Commissioner Cruz?
I did have one question, just in the end, this is one of the questions that I had when we started the budget. If I remember correctly, I think this is one of the departments that we added some sort of like a coordinator position. And I remember talking to you about it during last year's budget. So I just kind of wanted to know like what happened with that. Did we ever post it? Did anybody get hired for that?
I don't want to steal Candace's thunder, so she just updated me today on it, so I'll let her.
Candace Walls, Chief of Staff to the City Manager. So we actually had interviews last week and we were offered someone a position, but we're having to go back out just because they stayed with where they were currently employed. But we do have that back on the street. It's a, I think we're going to change it to an analyst position. It was going to be a grants coordinator, and that was going to service MUNIT and grants as well as RJ in community improvement. So we're actually going to go back out and make it like an analyst position because we're needing a little bit of accounting to assist.
Okay.
So that's where we currently are.
And
We're
what's the
working with
amount
HR.
budgeted for it? Because I don't see it in this.
We actually just increased a little bit, about in the high to mid 50s, and then it went all the way up to 77. I think that's what we had it at as of today. So we're going to work with our HR staff to get it back out. It's going to be on a few different locations, our website, as well as FGOA and a couple of other places. So we can get kind of the best candidate to help both of these sections out.
That's really wonderful, thank you. So then that would be updated for the personnel allocation, it would be added to that. And we'll take the money from last year's budget and kind of put it here and it'll be a nice cushion. Okay, sounds good to me, thank you.
Well, Commissioner Turkin, did you have anything?
No, you want to go ahead? Go ahead. No? Keep it in order, go ahead. All right. No, just the support for what Amanda had requested for the business development grants. I know that we were going to talk about that later, so I just want to, again, show my support for that. I think it's a unique way to utilize these funds, so, and it's so successful. That economic development grant, super successful. I mean, how quick does it run out, Adam?
A couple weeks now.
Yeah, I mean, so anything we can do to help promote local business, I think it's a win.
Mr. Hay, did you have anything?
No, I was just looking at the challenges that he stated, trying to think about how we can be of assistance there. And, yeah, I just thinking, sometimes we can increase the amount of the down payment and closing costs that's available to make offers more competitive and stuff. Maybe that's something to think about, or we can introduce additional local funding and partner with, nonprofits to offer supplementary financial assistance, those kinds of things. We need to start thinking out of the box because this is a challenge that's going to increase rather than decrease. And we really need to, maybe not right now, but we really need to start thinking in those directions, okay?
Yeah, if I may answer that, Commissioner Hay. So when we do closing, we definitely partner with nonprofit developers such as Habitat for Humanity right now. As a matter of fact, for closings of houses that they did in the city. So through the amendment that we did a year ago, we increased those amounts that go to different income categories. So a low-income individual can get up to $95,000 if it's a new unit or an assistant to be able to offset the barrier, or they be able to afford a house. So if it's an existing unit, a low-income individual can get 65,000. A very low income can get up to 75,000 in assistance. A moderate income can get 25,000, and if it's a new unit, can get up to 50,000. So those limits, those thresholds were increased with that in mind. The only thing that is a challenge is to be able to keep them out of debt, to be able to, for them to keep afford a house, to be able to keep it for the long run. Because when we try to give someone into a house that the what they call a quote-unquote affordable housing right now is $528,000. So if you think more than $500,000, a very low-income individual can't afford something like that, even if you push in $65,000, $75,000, because that is nothing. Just closing costs out of an amount like that is over $25,000. So it is a very, very, very challenge for them. That moderate income individuals are the ones that can afford housing. However, because grant limitations set aside don't allow me to be able to utilize too much funding toward moderate income individuals. This grant comes with limitation we set aside, like I explained at this diet so many times, and that is the challenge. I have to abide to those guidelines for me to be able to assist those individuals. So when I'm trying to assist someone toward purchase assistance, for instance, with this $622,000, where 75% of it had to go toward construction, meaning rehabilitation. So 15%, only 50% of that amount, about $93,000 of it, can go toward purchase assistance. And I can either use it for purchase assistance or I can use it toward the rapid housing program to assist homeless individuals, which, by the way, last time you asked, how many individuals have been assisted and actually be placed in homes? So I processed, I didn't go through how many applications I processed as part of the job, but just to give you a rundown on things, and I get you to the part where how many homeless individuals have been placed, I processed just in the last year and a half, 155 applications, 96 purchase assistance applications, 36 housing rehabilitation application, 5 limited application or limited rehabilitation, 23 homeless rapid housing rehabilitation, of which single-handed I placed 18 homeless individuals that want to be helped in permanent places.
Very good. Very good.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all I have. Yeah, that deserves a head clap there, man. That's what I'm talking about. Good job.
RJ, I just have one quick question. On the challenge that you're having with the purchase assistance, do we need to do something with the funds that that you've allocated for those so that we don't jeopardize losing them, or
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all, because the way this program works is through CDBG, through a series of amendment, I can reallocate funds.
Okay.
So in order for me to be able to meet timeline, what you call the timeline test with the CDBG program, so I have to relocate funds. Those funds have to be allocated. One of them is Galaxy Park, for instance. You know, activity that closes, for instance, we allow some of the funds were allocated to purchase 4 units for elderly to be able to rent. We only were able to buy 2 of them that elderly are going to be occupying here within the next 2 months because there was a limitation from HOA. So now those funds that were left over from that was be able to reallocate it and put it into the Galaxy Park improvement. When it comes to the CHIP program, so those funds, I can move them back and forth. So that's why when I present to you a LHAP, and it has this figure of how many individuals are going to be able to help in each different categories, you know, that is just figure of speech. Because along the way, as I'm running this program, these multiple years at a time, I can be able to switch the programs. For instance, we gave Viranova $200,000 to be able to assist homeless individuals, and Viranova only was able to assist 5 individuals. So they only were able to spend $50,000 out of $200,000 that we gave to them. So out of that, they took the $20,000 plan administration, and they all were given to assist these 5 kids with $30,000. So because of what I found discrepancies on the file, the way they were keeping it, I pulled the money back in, and I'm utilizing those funds to be able to assist homeless individuals with that leftover funds. So when these funds come back to me, or program income come back to me, I be able to switch them around to be able to see where can I fit and to be able to assist the LMI community. So if I get, for instance, somebody sells a home and I get 100 construction set aside, that I can be able to put that one toward purchase assistance or to be able to assist homeless individuals.
That's great, RJ. I think that's great that you're staying on top of that and recognizing when they're not, holding up their end of the bargain, and we can utilize those funds. So thank you. Does anyone else have anything?
One quickie. Have you looked at, or do we have flexible loan repayment? Do we have we, to ease the burden on the buyer, give them some kind of?
So once again, when I work with realtors and the loan officers and everything else, we try to find any assistant that is out there to be able to assist these individuals. If there is a way that there is another grant that can be able to assist, like Bank of America or Citibank, or they have some other grant that they can assist with the closing costs that doesn't require for them to have a second mortgage. Because there is, for instance, the HEROES that assist, teachers. So this grant, they are, because they're coming from almost the same sources, they're required for them to be in second position. The city is in second position when we assist someone with $85,000, for instance. I'm just about to close a house with Habitat. $85,000 are going to be given to a single mother to be able to buy a house. So we are going to put a mortgage on them for 15 years on a second position. So when other grants that they require to be in second, then we have to be in second in order for us to be able to assist them. But we definitely look other venues to be able to assist this low-income individual in order for them to get into a home.
Thank you.
RJ, I think the commissioner was also alluding to the Section 108 loan guarantee program, whether or not we utilize that.
Well, that is a loan that if the city want to get involved in that is provided through HUD. So that is something else that if we can look into it and to be able to get those loans. But again, is that a loan that could be utilized from Section 8? I mean, I think that we can get around $2.5 million toward Section 108 in the city, but there is some requirement that need to be met in order for us to get that.
Thank you.
So, and just to talk a little bit about the action plan and what Commissioner Turkin was talking about, and the recommendation that was provided in the application that was submitted by Economic Development. So that will be a decision that Commission is going to decide on August 6th. That item is going to come to you on August 6th. So therefore, at that time in time, you'll be able to discuss and what recommendation. At this point, I submitted a recommendation to the Commission that is in the action plan that is now for public viewing. So for public comment, that item is going to be presented to you on August 6th, and you will be decide which way would like to go to be able to move with those funds. So again, so recipient know that is up to Commission to make the final decision on how to allocate these funds. At this point, if you want me to just kind of give you the overview of it, my recommendation is to be able to continue to assist the elderly and or disabled individual, because there is a waiting list on that of 12 people waiting for those funds in order for us to fix their home. But you will get this item before you on August 6th.
Thank you, RJ. I think that I think that's good. I don't think anyone has any more questions. So thank you, RJ. Thank you, Candace.
Thank you.
I don't think there are any other funds that we wanted to talk about.
I don't have any.
Okay. So we're going to move on to public audience.
Yes.
Yes. As always, it's 3 minutes per person. It says not a Q&A. Same rules as always apply. The speaker must address the commission. Insults, personal attacks, disruptions will not be tolerated. You'll be asked to leave should you violate these rules. After we have concluded in person, we will go to those online. So, Commissioner Turkin, you good with the clock? All right, go ahead.
Is this on?
Uh-oh.
There it is, okay.
There you go.
Two things, and I hope lightning doesn't strike me when I say this. I know the fire chief's presentation of asking for a $25 increase in the fire assessment is a good idea. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Fire Station 3 is an abomination. It's criminal to have those guys and those gals in there. And if that fire assessment, or that portion of the fire assessment that would go to building that, and the way that it would work over a 15-year period, is a good way to go. Because back when this commission wanted to do a bond issue, and basically you guys made perfect the enemy of good by wanting everything when it really should have only gone for $35 or $40 million. So I hope you do the increase in the fire assessment, so that increase can be targeted and earmarked for doing the fire station rebuild, which should start like yesterday. The other thing is, in Kevin's presentation about the Meadows Park, in the past, every commissioner since Marlene Ross, going forward, except for the current commissioner, and she and I have recently communicated about it, that park in the Meadows, there was a plan presented which for under $100,000, it could have been turned into an extremely passive park. No restrooms, no parking, no anything. And based on the money that we heard over here, we should get that done right away. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. See Ms. Reedy on her way up, so.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Reedy. I did have some comments about lumping. We seem to have lumped together several departments. I don't know if that's to a cost-saving measure to avoid having to hire the professionals that we need to lead these departments or what it is. But art and public places and historic preservation are both being caused. Quality decisions are falling through the cracks. We've got Kinetic coming up in February, and we were partnered with a worldwide Kinetic organization. And who's reaching out to them? You know, how are the plans coming for the Kinetic art exhibit? Who's changing out the art that's on loan down Ocean Avenue? Who's in charge of art? We don't have anybody, a professional in charge. Historic preservation, our planner was able to oversee the renovations at the Women's Club. The windows had to be particular windows in order to maintain our status as on the National Register. You can't just slap windows from Home Depot into a building like that. And the other night, Kelly mentioned that there's something wrong with the front door, which raises a concern for me because if it's the front door, details like, you know, what doors are chosen to replace whatever needs to be replaced, these are details that are suffering because we don't have department heads for these, you know, these particular two departments that are, you know, I'm passionate about. The other night, at our last Historic Resources Preservation Board meeting, we moved to add things to our local register. And it's falling through the cracks, among several other things that on our to-do list. Warren Adams, the previous planner that we lost 7 years ago, was instrumental in establishing our program. And he is a very good professional. But he lives in Montgomery, Alabama. I'm not so sure we can count on him to trot down here to be a consultant when we need him. So, and my last comment is, I'm also concerned that there are unfunded mandates coming down from Tallahassee that y'all need to be considering, because those unfunded mandates cost money too. I'm positive of it. And please get us some people, you know, for these departments. They're important. Culture is important. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Reedy. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak during public comment? Now is the time. And okay, I don't see anyone coming forward. There is no one online, so public comment is now closed. So we're moving on now to the proposed resolution, to 4A. Okay. Do you want to read that?
I can read it.
Okay.
Proposed resolution R 24-148, a resolution of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, adopting a proposed municipal millage rate for general operating budget purposes for fiscal year 2024-2025, stating a rolled back rate and setting the date, time, and place of the first public hearing provided for an effective date as amended by this commission to the rate of 7.800.
Attorney, are we, is this up for discussion at this point?
Yes, you can discuss and then take a vote, or if there's no discussion, then you can move to approve it as amended.
Okay.
Go ahead, Commissioner Cruz.
I support 7.8.
All right.
Commissioner Hay, do you have any comments on this?
No, I just want it to be 7.8, and I'm satisfied,
Okay.
okay?
Commissioner-
7.8.
Commissioner Turkin?
Yes, ma'am, I'm good to go, 7.8.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve the rate of 7.8
Second.
mils.
All
The
in
biggest
favor?
tax cut we've had in this, probably over 20 years in the city.
Roll call vote.
I
Maylin?
second that.
Roll call.
Commissioner Turkin?
Yes.
Commissioner Hay?
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Penzer is absent. And it is, the motion passes 4-0. Sorry.
Thank you. And now to 4B, City Attorney, if you could read.
Proposed resolution number R24-149, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, relating to the provision of fire rescue services, facilities, and programs in the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, describing the method of assessing fire rescue assessed costs against assessed property located within the City of Boynton Beach, directing the preparation of an assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing and directing the provision of notice thereof, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, City Attorney. Commissioner Turkin, do you have any comments or on this?
Nope, I would just love for Hugh to come up here. Well, where's, he's in the back. I just want to get his commitment for everything we discussed and everything he pitched earlier this week. That, for myself, I believe in the use of this. And, when we discussed the bond, Vice Mayor Kelly, I wanted to support Fire Station 3. I think it's a necessity, and I've been very adamant against this, but I think for special circumstances come special measures. So, you have my support for this, and I'm just gonna say, next year we'll revisit, and I want to look at the progress that's been done, because the last thing I want is this is a mechanism to just offset potential market conditions. I understand that. But for me, this is conditional for Fire Station 3 and the other projects that you had laid out. In my vision is this is the use for that. And so I want that to be done first. And then we could lower it, hopefully, if later down the road, next year after, or whoever the commission is, can understand that this was utilized for certain projects, and then it can be lowered and increased and not be used to just offset funding year over year over year. So with that, you have my support, Chief Bruder, and it's a go for me.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chief, thank you for coming up. Before Commissioner Hay, do you mind, do you have anything to add from the last time that we discussed this before I move on to?
No, I don't have anything to add. I just want to thank you, Commissioner, and Commission as a whole. And I do want to give you my personal guarantee that we're going to do everything we can with these projects to make sure that we do them as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, and as cost-effective as possible. I will assure you of that. And every dollar will go to everything that's laid out as we discussed in the presentation. So thank you for the support.
Thank you, Chief. Commissioner Hay?
No, just to be clear, you're asking for 145, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm willing to support that.
Thank you.
I'm ready to move with it. Well, I'll wait.
Commissioner Cruz? No, go ahead.
When we started these conversations, I was originally, having long discussions with you about it and had my reservations for it. However, I think that the benefit outweighs the risk, and I believe that the residents of the city deserve a new Fire Station 3. It's long overdue. It's been decades that we need this, and at the end of the day, it's gonna be less than $2 a month, right? It's not a huge increase at all. So, again, the benefits to the city overweigh any potential, concerns. And I think that it's something that, as we talk about strategic planning, as this entire commission, we talked about public safety being our #1 priority. And as I talk to my constituents and have different conversations with them, they continue to reiterate that public safety is something that they support, and it's something that we should invest in.
And if I just may add to that, the gist there is honesty, transparency, and fiscal responsibility. Those are the things that, as we discussed, and I think your constituents spoke through you to me, that I think everyone on this dais and everyone that is in this city wants that to occur. And I think once they see that, trust is built, and I think that's important. So thank you for your support, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chief. I'll keep my comments brief, because you and everyone in this room knows my feeling on the fire assessment. It is something that I think that over the last year, you have heard our issues and our concerns with it, and have really turned your focus of that fire assessment to what it's really meant for. And, we don't want our fire department to have, products and materials and trucks and stuff that aren't working and are outdated. And so to really focus on smart usage of that fire assessment to show the residents of the city that there is a reason why those funds are necessary. And my opinion on the fire assessment hasn't changed. But as we know, Fire Station 3 is very needed for the residents and for the fire department, for your staff and for the guys and the men and women who work in that station. And so, but to that point, and I think, Commissioner Turkin, you were talking about accountability. We have you on it's a yearly accountability, because we'll see next year, and you're promising me that the plans are in the plans have been done. They have to be modified, but you're going to hit the ground running. And so that is your, that's kind of our guarantee that it's moving in the right direction. I do want, though, us to look in the next year, during this next year, on ways that we could potentially, we talked about percentage of the square footage percentage, just like we do on the commercial end, if how that would work, if possible, on the residential end. And that's really to spread the load, so that residents who live in smaller homes are paying their equitable share, as opposed to somebody who has larger square footage, and just to make it a little bit more equitable if possible, because that's how we do it on the commercial end. So I'll be talking to you more throughout this next year about that, and to staff as well, to see if that is an option, to kind of assist the residents who live in smaller homes, because that's generally the argument that we get, or the complaint that we get: why am I paying the same amount as somebody else? And so let's look at some options. But I do support this because there is the commitment that this is going towards Fire Station 3 and other things that are truly needed and necessary, and it's not just for fluff. So those are my comments on this. And with that, do you have another comment?
I was ready to make a motion, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Speak first.
I wanted to kind of talk to the rest of the board and see how you all feel on this, but I do know that you have a proposed rate of $25. I wanted to see if maybe we could decrease that to $20, so that it's even a lighter number. And I think that that's something that I would support. I think it's something that would still continue to support public safety in the way that you are requesting. And I see the attorney nodding.
I don't want to cut you off, so when you're done, if I could just
Oh, yes, go
chime
ahead.
in.
Go ahead.
No, I don't want to.
No, that's it. Just
Oh,
wanted
okay.
to decrease the number from 25 to 20.
So I just want to mention to the commission that this is not a final rate, right? This is the proposed rate that goes out. If you set it lower, it cannot go back up higher. It can always come lower for the final. So my recommendation is, although 20 might be more palatable and you might get there in the future, you might want to start at the 145 to get the weigh-in of the public, to kind of see how they're stomaching it. Because if you start 20 lower and then they say even lower, then you, instead of coming to 20, you're going to have to come lower. That's just something to consider.
And that logic also applies to the millage rate also.
That is correct.
With that being said, and if there's no more, my motion is to approve the 120 fire assessment fee to the 120 going to 145, okay?
Second.
That's, okay.
And sorry, just to correct the motion is to approve the resolution as amended to 145.
As
Yes.
amended to 145, yes.
Correct.
Well, the 145 is in there.
Second, based on the feedback we heard from the city attorney. But Commissioner Cruz, I think you bring up a good point. So I think just to be safe, let's, if we can adjust, we can adjust.
Are there and then potentially decrease? Okay.
And just a reminder, this is something that we're going to assess and evaluate every year. So, if they find that, construction costs are less and it can be adjusted in a year, then we can do that too. So with that, if there's no other comments, we'll have, Maylee, if you could do the roll call, please.
Commissioner Zirkin?
Yes.
Commissioner Hay?
Yes.
Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Pensurga is absent. In a roll call vote, motion passes 4-0.
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate your support.
Best salesman in the world.
Okay.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
One more thing
All I
wanted
want to do
to
is serve my public. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll
We
do final
appreciate you,
comments.
Chief. You
I'll do
get
final
best fire
comments.
department in the state of Florida for sure.
Oh,
Chief, can I call you for 30 seconds? Last thing before you go, wanted to reiterate, I know we did this yesterday, we discussed this yesterday with the water meters, but I wanted to request that we check, look at and verify and make sure we replace all of the fire hydrants in the city. I know some of them along Federal Highway and other areas of the city are not, there might have been accidents in the past and they were potentially not replaced. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention and get your accountability that we're gonna get those fixed and ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things we typically, at this department, we haven't managed the hydrants other than the fact that when they go out of service, that we report them as out of service, and then the other departments in the city manage that. So, I'll be working with staff to actually suggest, a way for us to kind of bring those in or work together with the other departments to make sure that does get done. But yes, absolutely. And then, making sure we have the right hydrants. Because, we've made some changes prior to my arrival where some of the hydrants might not have been what I would have chose as your fire chief. That doesn't mean they're suboptimal. But the idea is, with anything we do in the city with respect to public safety or the services you want to provide,
Top
we want to
notch.
provide the top-notch best services and at the best price. So I assure you that I will dive right into that, with the appropriate departments, and we'll get back to you directly on that and
Thank you,
keep
Chief.
you updated on where we are. Okay? Thank you. Any other questions? You're good?
thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any comments or anything before we close out the meeting?
I just want to thank everybody, all of staff who put in the work to put this in together. It's been a long process, and I know there was cuts and a lot goes on to this. And, I don't think you guys get the credit that y'all deserve all the time. And so I just want to let y'all know from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single staff member, police officer, firefighter, and everyone in the city who makes this happen and really just makes the city happen. We couldn't do this without y'all, and You know, things get crazy sometimes, but, you know, the city's run on a lot of heart. And you can see that. You can see how lighthearted things are, how much fun we have up here. And, you know, I just want to give you guys a round of applause. Thanks.
That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Turkin. Commissioner Hay, did you have any last
Enough
comments?
said. I concur 110% with what has just been stated. I just say, just keep doing the great work that you're doing, and we'll continue to stay afloat. Thank you.
And I just want, you know, in addition to that, just thank the public that has come out and participated, whether it be online or in person. We do appreciate the public input and you being here. So I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you, everyone. And with that, can we have a motion?
Motion to
adjourn. Oh.
Well, I just wanted to say also thank you to staff, kind of like echoing what was said before. I know that staff, a lot of staff specifically, I know Tony and Fabio and Sophia have worked really hard on the finance side, and then every single person in every department coming in here to present, and your finance staff as well. Thank you, and as Commissioner Kelly stated, thank you to the members of the public for showing up and caring about the city.
That's another point. We had an opportunity to see a lot new talent that we have here in the city of Boynton, and that's truly appreciated. I'm sure I can speak for everyone up here about that. So just keep doing what you're doing. We have some great people, and we have a great staff here in the city of Boynton Beach.
Agreed.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned at 8:36 p.m.
All right. 8:36.